area. The weather is sponsored by Financial and Tax Strategies.
KMOX AccuWeather, a nice day today, a cool start, then with plenty of sunshine, will warm to a high of 76. Then clear and cool tonight, will drop to 42 in the coolest suburbs, about 52 downtown at the Arch. Sunny and pleasant tomorrow and becoming warmer in the afternoon, high 82. Warm with sunshine Thursday, the high 84. This is AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Currently, we have sunshine, 59 degrees in Florissant, 56 in St. Peters, sunny, 58 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Megan Lynch, KMOX News.
It's never too early to start thinking about your retirement journey, and it's never too late either. You just need to know that the steps may look a little different. Listen to Wealth and Wisdom with Gary Goldberg, Saturday mornings at 7 here on KMOX.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, hit it.
It's the Chris and Amy Show.
You know who it is.
Also, if you didn't know, this is called the show.
Now, Amy Marks Coors, Chris Ranji on KMOX.
Good morning, good people. How are you? It is Amy Marks Coors and Chris Ranji on a beautiful Tuesday, 28 days from the election.
Oh, man.
Are you ready, baby?
Yeah.
I am ready. 314-436-7900 is our number. Calls and texts. We have a voice messaging feature on the Odyssey app, which you can use to leave us a message. You should download the app, first of all, and be listening to us live. Also, we are on social media at Chris Amy KMOX.
Time now for the top of the order. The top 3 stories everybody will be talking about.
You're not going to believe it, but it's Blues season. They
Wow.
open up their season today against Seattle in a game that'll happen this afternoon.
The Kraken?
Yeah.
The Kraken.
The Blues are about to get the Kraken.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hurricane Milton is barreling towards the Florida Gulf Coast. It is expected to make landfall tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and this coming just days after Hurricane Helene.
Unbelievable. We're going to talk to Heather Zare, AccuWeather meteorologist. Also, we are expecting remarks from President Biden. That was supposed to happen almost an hour ago, so it's not on time. At some point, we're going to dip in and hear what he's got to say. Also, the Kansas City Chiefs, they win again.
Hey.
They beat the Saints. They remain undefeated.
Which is insane.
No, it isn't.
Their receiving core has been decimated.
But
They're
they've
not
got-
playing very well. Travis Kelce, meh.
Yeah, but
Patrick
they've got-
Mahomes, meh. And they're still winning. Any team can win when they're playing their best.
But they have the second best quarterback in football. So
Next
All right.
to Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams.
That's right. Hey, we have to ask you, Chris Ranji, before we move on to anything else. See, you have been asked so far by 4 couples to officiate their wedding.
Mhm.
And the first 3 couples never made it to the altar. They
That's
never
correct.
made it to the altar. So we asked our audience, will the 4th couple make it to the altar this weekend? Because that is where you were. You were out of town to officiate a wedding. 48.9% of people said yes, the couple will make it to the altar. 51.1% said no, the couple will not make it down the aisle. Chris Ranji, did the couple make it? Did you do the nuptials?
Huge success. Josh and Julia are officially married. I signed the paper and everything. So it's done. They
Brad?
did it. They made it. So you 48.9% of respondents to our Twitter poll, you were correct.
Brad Young on Friday, as he filled in for you, said, man, can you imagine what dire straits you have to be in to ask Chris Ranji to officiate your wedding?
I'm a lot of fun.
Are you?
Yeah.
Did
I
you?
think
Okay,
so.
wait. Did you bring up the fact that the first 3 couples didn't make it?
Yes.
Did you really?
Yeah, I totally did. That was a hit. That was a huge hit. The fact that I said that, I was like, hey, I was letting, when they asked me to do this via a Zoom call months ago,
Yeah.
they asked and I said, I'll do it. By the way, I've been asked before and I told them what happened. And she said, well, I don't like that. I'm like, you're going to be fine though. But what I said was, I wasn't worried because I knew this was inevitable.
Yeah.
These 2 were going to get married. It was going to happen. The other ones, I wasn't so confident, but these are completely different couple. They're fantastic, and I'm super happy for them. And I'm on the license.
Wow.
I signed the paper and everything.
Is that your first time being on an official document like that?
Yeah.
Wow. How does
Yeah.
it feel?
Normal.
Do they have to ask you for your permission if they get divorced?
I think they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to scratch
So-
out your name or something?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're going to be in real trouble if I'm not around. Whoa, you want to get divorced? Sorry, too late. Chris
All
is
right.
gone. So, Amy, I
Yeah.
spent the weekend in Detroit, Michigan,
Mhm.
and we know I could not help but think a lot about St. Louis the entire time I was there because Detroit has been historically for decades the city in the United States that was the butt of jokes.
Mhm.
About it's awful and there's so much crime there, and there was even more crime for decades, and it was considered one of the worst, if not the worst, major city in the country. And you're doing the wedding stuff, and the wedding stuff is not real life, right?
Sure.
But I did spend a lot of time after the wedding was over. I stayed an extra day. I spent a lot of time walking around, specifically downtown, probably like 4 or 5 hours just around
Mhm.
the city. And because as you and I discuss all the time, the crown jewel of any region is the downtown of the major city in the region, right? So it should be the crown jewel in St. Louis, downtown St. Louis. That should be the place that people come to hang out, to live, to work, to visit from somewhere else.
Like Market Street should be our Broadway in Nashville. Market Street
Yeah.
should be where people are up and down Union Station, walking to the Arch, all of that.
I was absolutely struck by just how there were people. There were people out and about, and there were no particular events. Even on a Monday, I was walking around on a Monday, which a lot of people in the city, kind of like everywhere else, a lot of folks who have office jobs will get to work from home on Monday or on Friday. Even with that, there were people in coffee shops downtown. There were people out and about, just either going to work, walking from work, walking to get lunch, whatever it was. It was not anything like what the narrative is. And we do know that the city of Detroit has had a lot of improvement in the last 10 years. And here's what's amazing. I talked to a lot of people who are from the city. And I'll give you, for example, the guy who drove me to the airport. And he said, "What did you think of Detroit?" And he said, "I've been here 30 years.
Yeah.
It was not like this 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you did not," and he said this to me, and it struck me because this is the thing that we say all the time about St. Louis. He said 10 years ago, people did not go downtown unless there was an event. And now it's nothing like that. They did go through a bankruptcy back in 2013, which is an amazing story, by the way, how that came to be. But I was really, it really hit me how, look, Detroit's a bigger city than us. We've never been as big as Detroit is. At their peak, they had something like 1.8 million people living in the city, and now they're down to under 700,000. But it is on the rebound.
Yeah.
And everybody I talked to there, who lives there, who works there, they all said the same thing. They said, yeah, this city is really making a comeback, and everybody feels it. And I couldn't help but think, if they can do that, why can't we do that? What is holding us back? And I'm not entirely sure what it is. And I know people listening are going to say, well, obviously it's city leadership. Well, I think that's some of it, but I don't think that's all of it.
I think it's city and county leadership.
I
think
think
it's
it's
the whole
everybody.
region.
I think it's
I
everybody.
think we're living. Okay, and I want to champion St. Louis, and I'm not gonna lie, been pretty down this week on the city. I think traveling around the United States, traveling outside of the United States, but especially talking to people, Detroit, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Nashville, going to those cities for yourself, you realize, I think we are living in a bit of an illusion here, that we are doing better than we are, that we are on the upswing when we're not really.
Yeah.
I know the mayor keeps using the phrase where it's a renaissance. It's not, though. It's not a renaissance. We're not in a renaissance. It's a renaissance, Detroit.
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
I'll say this: Detroit is not there yet. but it has the palpable feel when you're walking around because there's construction and renovation going on all over downtown. And I know that it's not a downtown is not everything in a city. I get that, but it's the start. It's the starting point of the city. It's the thing that you have to get fixed first, in my opinion. If you look at the way that city seems to think of itself, it's not just a leader here or there trying to push the idea that, hey, we're on the way up. And I do think there are pockets of people in the St. Louis area who are trying to do good, trying to do their part. I fear there aren't enough of us. I fear there aren't enough people who really, truly want to invest in Detroit. And that's part of the issue. They got a couple of really wealthy entities there that want to improve the city. Dan Gilbert, who is the founder of Rocket Mortgage, he has put a lot of money into downtown. The Ilitch Holdings Group, which own the Detroit Red Wings and the Detroit Tigers, and they own, I think, the Fox Theater too. They own all, which, by the way, that whole area is beautiful, where Ford Field, where the Lions play and where the Tigers play and the Red Wings play really close by. And then the Fox Theater is there too. It's just that it looks like there's a lot of investment into the city. And people feel like they want it to do well and they are investing their time and energy into it too. It just, why can't we do that?
Well, it's a bigger conversation that we can continue as the show goes on, but I do think we're being led by duds. I think there's a lot of big fish, little pond effect, and we keep telling ourselves we're better than we are, and we're not.
We're going to talk to somebody who actually wrote the book on Detroit's resurrection and see what we can learn from him. Nathan Bomey will be with us at 10:30. But when we come back, we are going to talk to AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zerr, get the latest on Hurricane Milton here on KMOX.
Tom Ackerman here for Busey Bank, proudly naming Jewish Family Services of St. Louis as our latest building community partner. Each year, JFS supports over 60,000 children, families, and seniors of all religions, races, and abilities with a comprehensive range of services. With the support of partners like Busey Bank and others, JFS alleviates hunger and improves mental health. Learn more at jfsstl.org.
This is Pat Buring, Executive Vice President of Busey Bank. For 150 years, JFS has been building community by understanding the unique and complex needs of each family they serve so they can connect them with high-quality care at no or low cost. Like Busey, JFS remains steadfast in the belief that every person in St. Louis deserves the chance to not only survive, but to thrive. Join Busey, get involved, and help us continue building the communities we call home.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED in my 12 years of practice. But now you can get world-class care for ED 100% online by going to hims.com. So what are you waiting for?
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust. Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value free.
Endurance has paid hundreds of millions in claims. Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-296-7260. That's 800-296-7260. 800-296-7260.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-511-3535. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-511-3535. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-511-3535. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-511-3535, 800-511-3535, or biglou.com.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
Broadcasting from the Underlying Tree Lawyers. GetJim.com studios.
KMOX. KMOX, where every crack of the bat resonates with tradition, passion, and the spirit of Cardinals Nation.
It is the Chris and Amy show on KMOX. We are awaiting remarks from President Biden, who is going to speak on Hurricane Milton as Florida gets ready to brace for another hurricane within the matter of a week. This one is supposed to be especially devastating, not like the last one wasn't, but this one is not looking good. So we are going to hear from President Biden whenever he begins to speak. But we go to the Quiver River Electric guest line now. We bring in AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zehr. So tell us, Heather, first of all, thank you for being with us. And secondly, what is the status of the storm now, its strength, and what are we expecting when it finally reaches Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the storm right now is a Category 4 storm still. Winds have ticked up just a little with the 11 a.m. update. That's Eastern time, 10 a.m. Central time, back to 150 miles per hour. So it has regained a little bit of strength. A better chance, it looks like, that the storm is going to make Category 5 status once again this afternoon. It only has to get to 157 miles per hour to do that. So it's already well on its way. It's about 520 miles to the southwest of Tampa, and we do expect that it's going to stop moving more eastward and start heading more northeastward as we go through the afternoon.
I am reading the different projections of where it could hit, how strong Milton could be when it does hit land. And it says right now, currently, Milton could be the worst storm to hit the Tampa Bay area in over 100 years.
Correct, and that is in part because the storm is coming from a somewhat unusual direction. We don't often see storms that form in the southern Gulf of Mexico, track across the southern Gulf of Mexico, and then head up toward the Florida Peninsula the way we are with this one. It is kind of getting pulled northward by a storm system that'll come through the northeastern part of the country, and that kind of turns it up toward that Tampa Bay area. The problem with this is that the way that Tampa Bay is set up, a track into the Tampa Bay area, especially just to the north of Tampa Bay itself, would funnel a lot of that storm surge right up through the bay. And unfortunately, that could mean storm surge 15 to 20 feet in Tampa Bay. Right now, we're expecting the storm to make a landfall near St. Petersburg, which is definitely not good news for them.
We are visiting with Heather Zehr, AccuWeather meteorologist. Hurricane Milton is on its way to Florida. How unusual is this for a major storm like this to hit just a few days after another major storm hits the same, won't be the exact same area, but it will be the same state?
Yeah, pretty unusual to have these kind of things happen. You don't often see these storms even within 2 weeks hitting the United States, let alone the same state, and crossing, in some cases, some of that same water, because we are going to see the path of Milton cross over the path that Helene took just not quite 2 weeks ago. So definitely very unusual. We've only seen that really a couple of times in history. So it's highly unusual that this happens.
And Heather, I know we heard the term used with Helene that the storm surge would be unsurvivable. Is that what they're saying for Milton as well?
So much of the Tampa Bay area has elevations that are under that 15 to 20 foot storm surge that, yes, if you are in one of those
Heather,
lower areas.
Heather, sorry to interrupt you here, but we do want to dip in and listen into the president who is speaking on the hurricane right now.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's being done. That's being done. I've spoken to all political leaders in the region, some of them more than once, and I've told them anything they ask for, they can get. We've given, and we've got an overwhelming response, a positive response from everyone from the governors of Florida up to North Carolina. And mayors, leaders, local have expressed their sincere gratitude for the work of FEMA and for the work of my entire administration. Now, I've also surged thousands of federal personnel on the ground across the Southeast already and deliver every available resource as fast as possible. And my priority is to increase the size and presence of our effort. And as we prepare for another catastrophic storm about to make landfall, I've been in constant contact with our director of the National Weather Service, Ken Graham, has kept me informed the last several days what to anticipate. You never know until it happens, but he's very, very engaged. He made clear to me just how dangerous this storm is, indicating that winds had reached up to 180 miles an hour. 180, that's not guaranteed it's going to hit the shore at 180 miles, but they've reached up to 180 miles an hour. And a possible storm surge as it hits the coast of Florida of 15 feet, which can be devastating. The current path of the storm is expected to Tampa Bay area and cut directly across the state, east to west, all the way across the state, with the potential for this storm to both enter Florida as a hurricane and leave Florida as a hurricane on the Atlantic coast. This could be the worst storm hit Florida in over a century. And God willing, it won't be, but that's what it's looking like right now. Immediately approved the pre-landfall emergency declarations in Florida. It's the second one in a week, the second time in a week, and there have been two before that, by the way. I sent FEMA Administrator Criswell down to Florida yesterday to work intensively with the state and local partners as we prepare to deploy more resources. She can continue that work between Florida and North Carolina in the coming days. I'm calling on the airlines and other companies to provide much service as possible to accommodate evacuations and not to engage in price gouging, to just do it on the level. And last night I spoke again with the governor of Florida, DeSantis, and Tampa Mayor Castro, Castor. And I made it clear to them they should reach out, including to me directly, with everything else they may need as they see this storm hits. I gave them my personal number to contact me here in the White House. Most importantly, I've urged everyone currently located in Hurricane Milton's path to listen to local officials and follow safety instructions. You all have been reporting on the highways, shoulders being opened, everybody's heading out. And if you're under evacuation orders, you should evacuate now. You should have already evacuated. It's a matter of life and death, and that's not hyperbole. It's a matter of life and death. So let me add that FEMA has provided 300 ambulances to move people who can't move themselves out of healthcare facilities. And while we prepare for Hurricane Milton, we're still surging resources in North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee.
That is President Biden speaking on Hurricane Milton, again, giving the warning to people that you should be on your way away from the coasts right now, and was watching the Weather Channel yesterday, and they were telling people who think they need to drive hundreds of miles to get away from the highly impacted areas that you really only probably need to go about 10, 20 miles and get inward, that you don't have to drive hundreds. And what it ends up doing is choking up highways even worse. So our thoughts are with people in Florida, and hopefully people are heeding the warnings there. I'm looking at Amy Marks Kors. I'm Chris Ranji. Again, we talked about the city of Detroit and its resurgence and what St. Louis can learn from it. We will talk to an expert on it when we come back here on KMOX.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-525-8448. 800-525-8448. 800-525-8448.
With the new year, it's time to make sure you have the best vision for 2024. That means scheduling your annual eye exam with Ophthalmology Associates. Call 314-966-5000.
At 10:30, we've got some sun, and it is currently 60 downtown at the Arch. Time is running out for people in the path of Hurricane Milton to evacuate the coastal areas. The call has gotten more urgent over the past 24 hours. Forecasters say Milton could be the worst storm in western Florida in more than a century. Residents will be riding out the storm or making last-minute hardware store runs to protect their property.
People have been very serious about how big this storm is going to be. I think overall people have just generally been very kind.
We've got some road work on I-170 going south at Forest Park Parkway. Avoid that area if you can. Emergency vehicles 364 east at Maryland Heights Expressway in the right lane. This afternoon, plenty of sunshine, high 76. For tonight, lows from the 40s in the coolest suburbs to 52 downtown at the Arch. Sunny tomorrow with a high of 82. Sponsored by Sachs Financial. Right now, sunshine and 60. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Hi, this is Jeff Sachs with Sachs Financial. Do you have a plan for your retirement when it comes to your income so that you can live your best life? If not, go to our website and find out about our retirement compensation plan. RetireSafeSTL.com. RetireSafeSTL.com.
It's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, the doctor's doctors, 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com. It's warm now, but winter will be here before you know it. That's why Banner Construction is having their pre-winter window event. Choose from Banner's various energy-efficient brands and window price points featuring beautiful Pella windows. Banner is a certified Pella contractor and preferred James Hardie specialist. If you've been considering new windows or a fresh new exterior for your home, see Banner's work at bannerconstruction.com or call 314-569-1050 and have a banner day.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to experience something paranormal, supernatural, or unexplainable? Join host Jack Wagner on the podcast Otherworld as he explores spine-chilling real stories shared by everyday people who have experienced something unexplainable. Listen each week for first-person testimony from people who have come face-to-face with something that can't just be explained away. Listen and follow Otherworld, an Odyssey podcast, available now on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't you deserve healthcare you can count on? Well, you can count on United Healthcare. With Medicare plans that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. You can enjoy reliable coverage and low out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans. Made for Missouri, trusted everywhere. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day.
Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. As a business owner in these uncertain economic times, you struggle to guard your life's work against unexpected challenges. But can it withstand the sudden disruption of a divorce? When your hard-earned work is at risk, count on our experience and advocacy in handling these matters at Cordell & Cordell.
Schedule an appointment with one of our Missouri or Illinois attorneys. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood Parkway, Suite 310, Town and Country, Missouri, 63017. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois only. CordellCordell.com.
I'm Kevin Wheeler. This is KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
Thieves smashed through the front entrance of a Detroit grocery store.
A vacant house turned into a dope den.
We're told service will be cut citywide. They insist there are not enough crews to respond to emergencies.
Detroiters really want to know, when will the streetlights be working?
This city is going to collapse.
It is the Chris and Amy show on KMOX. And as I mentioned over the weekend, had an opportunity for the first time to visit Detroit, Michigan, a city that has gone through some massive challenges over decades of time, but it really does appear to be on a resurgence at the moment. And to discuss that and what maybe St. Louis can learn from what is happening in Detroit right now, Nathan Bomey is an Axios business reporter. He did write the book, Detroit Resurrected, to Bankruptcy and Back. And also there was a documentary which came out this year called Gradually, Then Suddenly, The Bankruptcy of Detroit. Nathan Bomey is with us on the Quiver River Electric guest line. Good morning, Nathan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for being with us. And again, I've mentioned how it really it affected me in a way, being in Detroit, walking around primarily downtown. I mean, I saw Corktown, I saw a couple of other parts, but I didn't really venture too far from the city center. It seemed like a pretty decent place, and there was stuff going on. There were people out and about. It's not really like that here in St. Louis. Tell us about the challenges that Detroit faced a decade or so ago.
Yeah, Detroit was in a terrible spot. Really, the city hit rock bottom in 2013 when they filed for the largest municipal bankruptcy in U.S. history. And, they were broke. They had owed $18.5 billion in debt. They had 32,000 pensioners who were facing potential cuts on their pension checks. They had 40% of the street lights were out. It was taking half an hour for police to get to the scene of major crimes. Just the city was fundamentally broke and broken. And, because of the legacy of the decline of the auto industry and the decline of the population, and numerous factors that led to the city getting to this point, they had to do something about it. And bankruptcy was the way that the city of Detroit ended up cutting a lot of the debt that was such a burden and held them back for so long.
Once they did declare bankruptcy and cut, some of that debt burden, what did they do to move forward?
Well, what bankruptcy allowed them to do is essentially to escape a lot of the debt that was causing them to have to spend their money on their bondholders and all this other debt that was holding them back. And instead, they were now able to start redirecting a lot of that money into city services. So they reinvested. They started to tear down a lot of the abandoned properties that were a blight on the city. And they started to invest in new police vehicles and in basic city services to rehab the parks, to get the streets in good shape, just basic things that I think we as Americans have come to expect and sort of, just assume that are going to be there. Detroit didn't have. But because they suddenly didn't have to pay as much for their debt for all the stuff they'd borrowed over the years, then they were able to redirect that money into things that people could actually benefit people's lives.
So why did it get that way in the first place, really? Because in a situation like that, you've got multiple parties who all want to blame just one other party and say, well, it was city leadership, or it was business people, or it's the citizens. Why did it get to the point that it was like that?
Well, Detroit has so many different crises that it encountered over the years. Everyone has an opinion about how Detroit went broke because you really can argue any number of things. So the auto industry collapsed, that led to the revenue declining. The city population went from 1.8 million to less than 700,000, which led to a collapse in the property tax income. And then there was all sorts of other issues like the foreclosure crisis, and certainly, a lot of racism involved in that. And there's so many different things you can point to that led to the city budget shrinking and shrinking and shrinking to a point where they simply couldn't pay for the kinds of things that you would expect. And instead of, making the tough decisions they needed to make to right size that budget over time, they started to borrow, and they started to promise things to pensioners and retirees that they couldn't afford. And of course, the bill comes due someday. I think that's one of the big lessons of Detroit, is that one day the bill will come due. And in Detroit, that was in 2013.
Nathan, I want to ask you about, okay, they declare bankruptcy, they're able to unload the debt burden and move forward. How much consensus did city leaders have, and how quickly did they move in making decisions? Because what I'm hearing is that the debt was really holding Detroit back. And I'm looking at St. Louis, which we cannot get out of our own way. We had our fiscal year just ended with a $42.4 million surplus. We have $500 million in ARPA funds and an NFL lawsuit money. So money isn't our issue. We just can't get out of our own way. So once Detroit was able to make money no longer an issue, did city leaders have consensus on what steps to take next? And did they take those steps quickly?
To be honest, the city of Detroit was facing political paralysis for many years leading up to and even past this bankruptcy. And what the unique situation that occurred in Detroit was that the state government actually appointed a new emergency manager to take over the city leadership. So essentially, this person named Kevin Orr, he was a bankruptcy attorney who had minimal connection to Michigan. He comes in and ends up basically usurping the power of the local authorities. Now he is in power and is able to make quick decisions that ultimately led to much of the city's financial recovery. Now, that's also can be a slippery slope, because if you have someone in place with that much power who makes some bad decisions, then things can go very poorly. So it was a very controversial decision to usurp that democratic process in Detroit. The people who defended it said that the state government is ultimately responsible for the health of its cities, and if they feel like they need to do something to help a city turn around, then that's their prerogative. And so that's why ultimately the city officials were temporarily sidelined. They ended up getting their power back a year or two later, but there was a period there where they didn't have much power at all.
How much of this resurgence that Detroit is seeing is because of wealthy investors like Dan Gilbert, the Rocket Mortgage founder, and you've got the Ilitch Holdings, which own the Tigers and the Red Wings, and just a huge part of the city. How important have they been in helping Detroit get back up where it is?
It's been a big factor, especially in the downtown area where you visited, and the other major business districts of the city, like the Midtown area where the Detroit Institute of Arts is anchored. That's been a big factor. But I would argue that a lot of that investment would not have occurred if not for the fact that the city, got its budget in place and started to operate more smoothly and efficiently, and the city officials started to be more coherent in their leadership. Because if you don't have a city government that's working, then investors are often going to be very hesitant to actually put money in, because they don't really know where this city is headed. And so once the city kind of stabilized itself, then the investors had the confidence to come in. And look at what Ford did. Ford Motor Company came in and rehabbed the old Michigan Central Station, this dilapidated building that was the symbol of blight for Detroit for many years. And they spent hundreds of millions of dollars to invest in this thing and basically turn it into an electric vehicle epicenter, essentially. They're going to put all kinds of employees in there, and it's going to rehab the whole Corktown area. So, you have companies and investors that are willing to do that sort of thing once they know the city's headed in the right direction.
Yeah, Nathan, going back then to Kevin Orr, who you said for a year or two basically took the decision-making power out of the democratic process. He was running the city. He was originally hired by then Governor Rick Snyder. Was it Rick Snyder who gave him the power to run the city, or did the city mayor or alderman, the council, whatever it was, voluntarily give up that power? Like, how did Kevin Orr get that power?
It's a good question. The state government empowered him to do that. So that was both the legislature and the governor who did that. No, the city officials did not willingly relinquish power. They did not invite him to come in. And so that was a big controversy. And there was quite a lot of protests when this occurred. But I think looking back on it a decade later, a lot of people realized that ultimately the city needed to make some very difficult decisions. And doing that with a city council in place, or alderman, as you say, would have been very difficult. Doesn't mean that that's not the process they should have gone with, but it would be very difficult if you have elected officials in charge of a process like this, because it just is a very high stakes process with difficult decisions that need to be made very rapidly. And if you have to take a vote on every issue, sometimes that can take a long time. And the state government says, well, we're still democratically elected, we're in charge, and we're still representing the people. And that's their argument for why this was acceptable.
Just from my anecdotal evidence from the people I know who are from there, the guy I was at his wedding, I met him when he lived here in St. Louis, and he had left Detroit probably a little after 2013. And he said, even now going back, it's completely different than when I lived there before I moved to St. Louis, and now being back there. And, the Uber driver, everybody seems to be pretty proud of what's going on now, of the resurgence. Is that pretty much the case? Is what is happening there? Is there a sense of pride? Are people on board with what's going on in Detroit?
I think there's a lot of optimism now because a lot of those difficult issues have been resolved, and now the city can build a brighter future. I don't think anyone expects Detroit to become, what it was in like the 50s when it was, 1.8 million people and vibrant, city like that. But I think that a lot of people believe that the city of Detroit has a brighter future ahead now, which is something they could not say for a long time. The city population declined for so many years, and it's finally stabilized. I think that there's a lot more optimism, but there's still many challenges. Still a lot of poverty in a lot of the neighborhoods, still certainly a lot of crime concerns and education concerns. But once you have a stabilized city government and you have investors putting money in, then a lot of times those benefits will start to filter out to the neighborhoods where they're badly needed.
What about the crime situation, how that was handled? Obviously, we liked to go back and forth, like who's the worst, who's the murder capital. I think St. Louis holds that scepter now, unfortunately. But with the approach to crime, the number of police officers, how they patrol, the Shot Spotter program, more cameras in businesses and gas stations and so forth. Who implemented that program, and how popular was that?
Well, I know there's been a lot of controversy over that in the city of Detroit. I haven't personally covered that, but I know there's been a lot of controversy. But I will say this, which is Detroit was in a very unique position at the time of the bankruptcy, where they didn't have enough police officers. They didn't have enough police equipment, and people in the city were actually desperate for more police. They wanted to see more police because they understood that they couldn't have a vibrant neighborhood unless they could get crime under control. And so by the bankruptcy allowed the city to hire more officers, to do things like actually repair their police vehicles, buy things like business cards. The police officers couldn't even afford business cards. Very basic things that I think the people needed. And so although there have been some controversies regarding things like the Shot Spotter system and such, I think ultimately a lot of Detroiters are happy that the city has more money to invest in public safety.
What could St. Louis learn from what Detroit did?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that they can learn, and that any city can learn, which is that if you kick the can down the road, eventually you will have to deal with a much bigger bill. And that's what happened in Detroit, and that can apply not just to financial issues, but to any other issue, which is it's better to make a tough decision now than to make a much harder decision down the road.
I know there are cities facing similar challenges, but not really the same kinds of cities. It's very difficult to be there and not feel like there are some things that maybe we can learn, and I hope we do. Nathan Bomey, we really appreciate your time today and all of your work on this. Thank you for joining us today.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Nathan Bomey with Axios, business reporter there. He was with the Detroit Free Press when that bankruptcy happened, which was a huge story at the time. Author of Detroit Resurrected, and the documentary is called Gradually, Then Suddenly, the Bankruptcy of Detroit.
STL Fence Works, they've been serving the St. Louis, St. Charles, Franklin, and Warren counties for over 50 years. And there's so much to love about STL Fence Works, whether it is the fact that they're family owned and operated and locally owned and operated, or the fact that they've been building decks and fences for over 50 years and never once wavered in their commitment to a quality and customer first approach. Also, one of my favorite things is that when you work with STL Fence Works, not only do you know that your project, whether it be a deck or a fence and beautifying that outdoor space, not only will be completed by an experienced craftsman in a timely manner, but they have a lifetime warranty that reinforces that commitment. That's very cool. And also, I think this is a huge bonus. When you work with STL Fence Works, you know that you're working with a company that is building with American-made aluminum and vinyl fence products, as well as American-made decking, whether it's Wolf Cellular PVC decking or Homeland Vinyl products, all sourced and manufactured right here in the U.S. Visit them today at stlfenceworks.com. That's stlfenceworks.com.
Hey folks, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house on the walls, patios, walkways, porch, or chimneys? If so, this might be a great time to call Morelli Tuck Pointing. What's tuck pointing? It's the removal of old mortar and the replacement of new mortar on a wall or chimney. Sometimes that mortar can become loose, missing, or deeply eroded. We've used the Morelli team to tuck point the Brennan home several times, and in fact, this winter, we noticed the bricks that line the ground near our porch in the backyard had gotten out of line and looked pretty cattywampus. One call, Morelli Tuck Pointing, the job was done. Morelli's the company that's won the Angie's List Super Service Award every year, back to back to back, since 2005. Check out their reviews on the Google, Angie's List, and Better Business Bureau websites. The Masonry Specialists, 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
KMOX proudly supports the Musial Awards, returning to Stiefel Theater Saturday, November 23rd. You can be in the audience for this nationally televised event hosted right here in St. Louis. Named for Stan the Man, the show celebrates the year's greatest moments of sportsmanship and those who embody class and character. Experience the extraordinary moments and people that make the Musial Awards an event like no other. More information can be found at KMOX.com/events.
When was the last time you watched your home movies?
Disasters strike unexpectedly. Every year, American families lose the one thing they'd run back into a burning building for: their family's memories. Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Adam. We started Legacy Box to help save your family's most important recorded moments so you don't have to worry.
Load Legacy Box with your old movies, film reels, and shoeboxes of photos.
We work our digitizing magic, converting those memories right to the cloud so they're safe and accessible forever.
It's fast, we always send your originals back, and it's done right here in the USA.
Over 1 million families have trusted Legacy Box. Better Homes and Garden, Real Simple, and Inc. magazine are all talking about Legacy Box.
New York Times columnist David Pogue says, have them digitized. I wish I'd done it sooner. Take action. Save your family's memories today with Legacy Box.
Go to legacybox.com/value to get an incredible 50% off your Legacy Box. That's legacybox.com/value for 50% off while supplies last. legacybox.com/value.
This is Megan Lynch. The 2024 St. Louis Walk to End Alzheimer's is returning to the Chesterfield Amphitheater on Saturday, October 26th. More than 2,500 people are expected to walk at the annual event in honor of a loved one who had or who is living with Alzheimer's or dementia. Alzheimer's disease is the 5th leading cause of death among people age 65 and older. Join me and join in the fight by registering for the walk at alz.org/STL Walk. That's alz.org/STL walk.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
If you've been injured in a truck accident, you need the best. Onder Law. Let us make your case our cause. Truck accident? Call Onder Law for a free review at 314 or 618-9000000.
If you're experiencing low energy, brain fog, or bloating, then your body might need a detox. Active Liver from New Nordic makes it easy to help your liver to detox your body all year long without major changes to your diet or lifestyle. Active Liver is available in stores at CVS or online at Amazon.
I'm Andrew Stoles, and this is KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
Amy Marks Coors, Chris Ranji on KMOX. Multiple ways to get a hold of us. One of them is to use the Odyssey app and hit the mic button and record us a message and send it to us, and you might get to hear it right here on the show. You can text us, of course, or give us a call, 314-436-7900. Like this person, Chris is with us, and he, I assume, is in St. Louis. Hello, Chris.
Yes, I am. I just wanted to compliment. It was a great conversation, great interview on the similarities and differences of what's going on and has gone on in Detroit and St. Louis. If you wanted to look into it further, one of the early developers in on the Renaissance in Detroit is St. Louis-based McCormick Barron, founded here and still headquartered here. And we have the expertise here. We just don't have the leadership willing to listen to them.
Well, I don't doubt that leadership is definitely part of the equation. I happen to think that it is a lot of things, and Detroit was going through it too. It wasn't just leadership; it was decisions made decades ago. I mean, there's issues with redlining and where they decided to build highways, and there are a lot of challenges there. And one of the main differences is their biggest employer is auto manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
And when that started to have some difficulties, then that Ford and General Motors, such a big part of that area. When they are struggling, the entire area struggles.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know, I think I feel more depressed now because so much of what Nathan was talking about was the burden of debt, how they were not able to pay for simple city services. They had to declare bankruptcy. They had to take this radical step where they had the governor and the legislature appoint a city czar, usurping the democratic process for a year or two. And we're not in debt. We have so much money. We had a $42.4 million surplus this fiscal year that just, was revealed a couple days ago. We have $500 million in ARPA and NFL lawsuit money. And we are worse than Detroit. Like, we're not burdened by debt. We have, I do think, leadership that is just a dud. And oh my gosh, can you imagine the riots and the city would burn down? I think
I wouldn't be that's an overstatement. People might protest, but I don't think we're going to be talking about.
If the governor tried to appoint a city leader, that if you had the governor of Missouri and the legislature in Jefferson City say we're going to usurp the democratic process for a year or two, it would be a disaster. It would never happen.
But you also have to be very careful. I mean, yes, it worked in Detroit's case. Does it work in our case if we do it that way? I'm not entirely sure.
Well, and I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just saying that's a radical step that I don't know that it would ever go over.
Why doesn't St. Louis do what the Cardinals did and hire a rebuilding expert? Chaim Bloom of the city variety. We've got some money laying around. We've got a bunch of crappy leadership. Sounds like the city's got the same problem as the baseball team.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Put Chaim Bloom in charge of the city.
Oh, that's what we need, I think, is we need another, what do they call a consultant?
Oh, another committee consultant, a study?
We need more consultants.
And more studies,
yes,
probably.
Consultants and studies.
Until it never stops studying.
It's Chris and Amy. Feel free to leave us your voice messages on the Odyssey app. We love to hear from you on KMOX.
There are nearly 70 million people that are currently using Medicare and taking Social Security. When you retire, you could be one of them. The question is, have you figured out how best to use these programs? That's where Steve All and the All Financial Group can help. Join Steve and his team on October 23rd at the All Financial Group office, where Steve will discuss Social Security. Special guest and Medicare consultant Scott Stream will present on Medicare. This event is complimentary, but you must qualify to attend. Call 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or go to yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Scott Stream and Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC are not affiliated.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The legendary voice of St. Louis, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour. I gotta fill up my gas tank, and I know this place a couple towns over where the gas is cheaper.
Are you serious? We're gonna be late for the concert because you're driving out of the way for cheaper gas? Just use Upside.
What's Upside?
Upside is the free cashback app that gets you real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, I can get cash back just for buying the gas I need anyway?
Yes, I use it all the time, and I've made around $200. Now pull over so you can download the Upside app before we miss the concert.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code CHEAP to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank, PayPal, or as a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code CHEAP for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code CHEAP for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code CHEAP.
It is 11 o'clock in mid-America. We've got sunshine, currently 62 degrees downtown at the Arch.
Yes, you may be inconvenienced and you may be uncomfortable, but if you listen to us, you and your loved ones will be alive.
Hillsborough County, Florida Sheriff Chad Chronister urging residents to heed the warnings and safeguard themselves. Forecasters say Hurricane Milton could be the worst storm in western Florida in more than a century. Evacuation orders are in place for people to leave impacted areas. Flights are being canceled. National Hurricane Center Director Mike Brennan.
We have a high risk of flash flooding from Wednesday into Thursday, including the Tampa metro area, Orlando metro area, Ocala, up towards the Daytona Beach area. This is that where we're expecting to see significant risk of life-threatening flash and urban flooding.
This just in.
More than a dozen states and the District of Columbia filed lawsuits against TikTok today, alleging the popular video app is harming youth mental health by designing its platform to be addictive to kids. The lawsuits stem from a national investigation into TikTok, which was launched in March 2022 by a bipartisan coalition of attorneys general from many states, including New York, California, Kentucky, and New Jersey. All of the complaints have been filed in state courts. The Kansas City Chiefs remain the AFC's only unbeaten team after defeating the New Orleans Saints.
The Kansas City Chiefs jumped out to a 10-0 lead and went on to win 26-13 over the New Orleans Saints to raise their record to 5-0. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes threw for 331 yards, but both of Kansas City's touchdowns came on the ground.
We've won different ways. I mean, at the end of the day, our defense is playing their tail off, and I think people are starting to come to realize that even more. And so even when we're getting these field goals, they're keeping us in these games.
For the Saints, who are 2-3, quarterback Derek Carr threw a pair of touchdown passes, but left late in the game with an undisclosed injury to his left side. Greg Eklund, Kansas City.
Happy birthday today to
Enterprise Center. 30 years ago, the arena, then the Kiel Center, officially opened its doors with a 2-day open house that attracted more than 35,000 people. The very first ticketed event there was an NBA exhibition game between the Chicago Bulls and the Washington Bullets. The first ticketed concert, Billy Joel, who since played that arena 6 times solo and twice with Elton John. But who had the biggest concert at the home of the St. Louis Blues? That would be Bon Jovi, with almost 20,000 fans back in May of 2011. Debbie Monterey, KMOX News.
The KMOX Business Desk, artificial intelligence is hungry.
Google is working with utilities in the U.S. and other countries to access nuclear power as a possible energy source for its data centers. The move is a sign of surging interest in using atomic energy to feed the artificial intelligence boom. Kimberly Adams, Bloomberg Radio.
And the Dow from Stifel right now is currently up 64 points to 42,018. We've got road work on 6440 going east at Research Park Circle. It's got the right lane, right shoulder closed.
Sunny and pleasant this afternoon with a high of 76, then clear and cool tonight. Those ranging from 42 in the coolest outlying areas to 52 downtown at the Arch. Sunny and warmer tomorrow, high 82. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Sponsored by Fast Eddie's Bon Air. If you're 21, go to Fast Eddie's Bon Air on 1530 East 4th Street for great food and entertainment. The home of the Big Elwood on a Stick, the Big Fat Eddie Burger. Fast Eddie's Bon Air. Sunny and 62 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Your home of the Cardinals.
Arenado swings and hits it deep to left field. That ball is out of here.
The Billikens.
Jumper. Yes! Billikens win!
The Chiefs.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
We are America's sports voice. KMOX.
And it was only yesterday, wasn't it?
O'Connor's going to get out of it.
Pressure to Kevin Von Erich, and you can see right where that leg is, underneath the shoulder, making it even harder for Kevin Von Erich to regain his feet. So Kevin flips over, comes up, counters to a wrist lock, down goes Starr.
I have to celebrate you, baby.
Oh, man. Remember wrestling at the Chase? I vaguely remember it because I was very, very little. I was small. But I know that wrestling at the Chase used to be a very big thing here in St. Louis.
It ended the year I was born.
So
that's why.
That's why you don't remember.
That's why I don't remember. I'm like,
because
how do
you
I
were
know?
0.
I was 0 years old. Yeah.
Well, the final bell, the Sam Muchnick 1982 retirement card, it is airing tonight at 7:30 on KPLR, St. Louis 11. And to talk about it with us is Mike Colombo, consumer investigative reporter and anchor for Fox 2 and KPLR. And we're going to see some never-before-seen footage of wrestling at the Chase in 1982. And Mike Colombo is with us on KMOX. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thank you for having me.
Hey, well, thanks for being here. And for me, I remember people talking about wrestling at the Chase, and even some of my friends when I was in grade school talking about it. Obviously, adults were talking about it because it used to be such a big deal here in St. Louis.
Yeah, well, as Amy said, I was less than 0 when wrestling at the Chase ended. So I have to say that it was before my time, but grew up with family talking about their experiences with it. And yeah, you talk to anybody of a certain age in St. Louis and they'll tell you what a big deal it was. And the man who helped create it all was Sam Muchnick. So we have a photographer here by the name of Brian Ledford. He is one of my friends, one of my favorite colleagues, and a tremendously talented person. And he unearthed this footage from an event that took place on New Year's Day, 1982, at the Checker Dome. It was a special card honoring Muchnick's retirement. 19,000 people packed the arena that day, and what they saw was an incredible tour de force of some of the biggest names in wrestling at that time, people like Dick the Bruiser, people like a young Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, and the video is just amazing. And it was all shot in its entirety, and we're going to be showing snippets of all of those matches and all of the pre and post-match stuff that was shot inside the arena that night in this program.
What first? It could have been like you said, the stories that you heard as a kid. What prompted you to investigate even deeper into the history of wrestling at the Chase and what it means to the city of St. Louis?
I mean, if I'm being honest, it was Brian Ledford's passion for not only the sport, but the history.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see this video, and while I may not have been old enough to truly appreciate wrestling at the Chase, I did go to my first Blues games and Billiken basketball games and maybe a Disney on Ice mixed in there as well at the arena. I grew up in Dogtown, so right across Hampton Avenue from it. And, I think there was that nostalgia piece that got me interested. And then when I heard Brian speak so passionately about the figures who made this, and then I saw the video for myself, I was like, man, being on KPLR 11, St. Louis 11, and then having that tie-in, it was like the fact that we were able to get the green light to move forward with the program. I'm, grateful for the opportunity to do that here.
I'm always curious about a television station. It's been around for a long time, or even a radio station like this, the archives, and where old footage is and how you run across it. I mean, how do you even find some of this stuff? How do you even know to look for it? Is it a complete accident that you find it?
Maybe not an accident, but some good fortune involved. And I don't know what the archives are like at KMOX compared to the archives here, but they are perhaps not as well tended as you would probably like.
We have a vault. We have a vault with 2 security. They each have a key. It's one of those.
All right. Well, then that's a little bit more than what we've got. Yeah. But so there was a former employee here by the name of Randy Liebler, and he was kind of the pseudo archivist for many, many years. And he just had a bunch of tapes. I mean, I'm sure there's more stuff that he has or that's laying around here. But he had shared it with Brian, knowing what a huge wrestling fan he was. And then when Brian put it in and watched it on, equipment that we no longer use, thankfully Brian found a tape deck to be able to watch it. He saw it and, was just enamored with what he saw. So not the most pristine or well-kept archives, but we've got it, and that's all that matters.
Okay, I'm not a wrestling aficionado, but with wrestling at the Chase and the years that it was, such a big deal in here in St. Louis, you brought up the names like Dick the Bruiser and King Kong Brody and so forth. Did wrestling at the Chase start with theatrics? Like wrestling, it came to be very entertainment and theatrical, or did it kind of start just plain old wrestling?
That's a great question. What you'll see in this video is a far cry from what wrestling went on to be.
Okay.
Yes, there were theatrics there. And I think as time went on, it became more theatrical. And I think that wrestlers like Ric Flair kind of helped spur that. And from what I understand, there were kind of competing factions within the wrestling world. There were the traditionalists who were not such big fans of all of that bravado and, some of the storylines that kind of extend outside the ring. So, yes, you do start to see some of that with wrestling at the Chase, but I think it's something that really began tied more closely to what we see nowadays on the tail end, the final few years. And then with the inception of WWF becoming WWE, that's when that really begins to explode in the late 80s and 90s.
Yeah, and this was going on from, this is a 20-year thing, right? Right about 20 years. You started in 1962. It ends in 1982. And some of the more well-known names, like Ric Flair, go on to what were considered to be, I guess, the more world-famous wrestling leagues. Is a league the right word?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a league, but yeah. But there were a lot of really big names that came through here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing that I learned through working on this is that, and these are the words of the wrestlers who you'll see in this, not my interpretation. St. Louis was the wrestling capital of the world, and it largely fell on the shoulders of Sam Muchnick, who was a super promoter. I mean, long before Don King in boxing, Vince McMahon in wrestling, Dana White in UFC, Sam Muchnick was the promoter, and he is the one who brought big names in, who coached them up, who promoted them. And, just some of the names that you'll see in the program tonight. Joyce Grable, Wendy Richter. There is a women's tag team match that is featured in the program. You've got Harley Race, Greg Valentine, David Von Erich, Ken Patera, Dick the Bruiser, Baron Von Raschke, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes. And what I've also learned is that there were like kind of St. Louis specific guys who would wrestle in Wrestling in the Chase that maybe weren't as well known nationally. So you had like competing for the Missouri title belt is part of this program. And then you have, your Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes matchup, which is the main event on the card that night. In that particular match gets its own segment in the show because, that's who everybody was there to see that night.
Is it true that Joe Garagiola was the initial play-by-play commentator for Wrestling at the Chase?
Yeah, and
crazy.
you will get to see that in the program tonight. You'll see some snippets of Joe. I actually had the great pleasure to work with his granddaughter in my very first TV job in Quincy, Illinois, and she had some great stories. Of course, he grew up on the Hill with Yogi Berra. Everybody knows about Joe, but to see him younger and to see him introing Wrestling at the Chase is really, really cool.
It's funny. We're talking about this, and I'm thinking about the old, the St. Louis Arena, and I mean it was time, but you still miss the building. You miss it being there.
Absolutely. And you get to see some shots. I will tell you the way that they set it up, as you would expect, it's the arena is dark and they've got the spotlights cast on the ring, but we show, they do a whole pre-match ceremony where Sam comes out and all these dignitaries come through the ring and present awards. And, you can catch some glimpses of the arena and you can see some great crowd shots. There were crowd close-ups and things of that nature. So you get a bit of that nostalgia from the old arena. And also, KPLR had done several Wrestling at the Chase specials over the years. So we were able to pull from some of those specials to include interviews with people who are no longer with us, who are able to provide context to not only Sam Muchnick's career, but what Wrestling at the Chase was and what he built it up to be. And if you're not a huge wrestling fan, and I will be the first to admit that I am not a huge wrestling fan, but I am a huge fan of St. Louis history and St. Louis pop culture. And, there is a very big dose of that in this special.
It airs tonight at 7:30 on St. Louis 11. That's KPLR. Then again at noon on Sunday on that same channel. It's called The Final Bell, the Sam Muchnick 1982 retirement card. Mike Colombo, reporter and anchor at Fox 2 and KPLR 11. Thank you so much for visiting with us today.
Really appreciate the chance to talk with you guys. Thank you.
That'll be really fun to see this stuff because I'm sure I've seen footage of Wrestling at the Chase just in passing over the years, but I
feel like I've seen it primarily because of, this job, like looking into the history of St. Louis in ways that maybe I wouldn't have before. But yeah, it ended in September of '83. So I was a month and a half old.
It's a good run. And again, people used to talk about it all the time when I was growing up. And when I was really young, I did not like wrestling at all. It didn't do anything for me. And I used to get upset. There were nights where I think it was Saturday Night Live would get preempted for wrestling.
Really?
There'd be wrestling on TV and that would make me angry as a kid. And then I got into like the Hulk Hogan, Macho Man and that era.
Yeah. I feel like my friends' brothers, they would have the action figures of Hulk Hogan.
Oh, I had
and
some
all
of those
guys. Yeah. Because I never really watched any of it, but I think if you had brothers or you had friends with brothers, they always brought up wrestling or like a wrestling move, they were going to body slam somebody or throw a chair.
Can I do a figure 4 leg lock on you? during the break?
Feel like that. Well, listen, I need to take my anti-harassment class.
No, this
but
isn't
I
harassment.
feel like that's harassment.
This is straight up abuse.
Oh, jeez. No.
Physical. It is physical.
No.
It hurts so bad. You ever had a figure four done on you?
Is that the one that the Bugs Bunny got from the guy in the green Speedo?
What?
Remember when Bugs Bunny would wrestle and there was the guy in the green Speedo and he would squeeze him between his legs?
No, that's not what that is.
Okay.
It's really bad on your knee.
Oh, geez.
You want me to jack your knees up? Okay.
Get serious.
It's Chris and Amy on KMOX.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Hi, this is Kent Newbold for Newbold BMW. Do not trust your BMW to some quickie lube place. Bring it to our award-winning service department. That's Newbold BMW in O'Fallon, Illinois, or NewboldBMW.com. You'll be sold on Newbold.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
When was the last time you watched your home movies? Disasters strike unexpectedly. Every year, American families lose the one thing they'd run back into a burning building for, their family's memories. Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Adam. We started Legacy Box to help save your family's most important recorded moments so you don't have to worry.
Load Legacy Box with your old movies, film reels, and shoeboxes of photos.
We work our digitizing magic, converting those memories right to the cloud so they're safe and accessible forever.
It's fast, we always send your originals back, and it's done right here in the USA.
Over 1 million families have trusted Legacy Box. Better Homes and Garden, Real Simple, and Inc. Magazine are all talking about Legacy Box.
New York Times columnist David Pogue says, have them digitized. I wish I'd done it sooner. Take action. Save your family's memories today with Legacy Box.
Go to legacybox.com/value to get an incredible 50% off your Legacy Box. That's legacybox.com/value for 50% off while supplies last. legacybox.com/value.
From city lights to neighborhood stories, KMOX's local newsroom keeps you informed. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Amy just looked up the figure 4 leg lock
Yeah.
during the break, and she said she's not into it.
No, it looks like it would hurt. It looks like it would blow out your knee.
I think that's the point.
I think it is the point.
Isn't it weird that we used to do that as kids to each other?
Kids used to do weird things. Yeah. Boys especially. Hey, speaking of being a kid, and I'm not disparaging boys. I just having talked
you
to
are.
no. I feel like all the body slams, I feel like girls weren't like jumping off the couch and body slamming people.
No, that was the best.
As much as my friends' brothers were. Call me crazy. Hey, speaking of being a kid, I saw this comedian on, I don't know, some kind of Instagram reel or something. And he said, everyone's talking about mindfulness, like mindfulness. Be mindful, be present, be in the moment. If you are walking, if you are sitting down. And he said, as kids, we were forced into mindfulness. Like we didn't have smartphones. If you were on the bus, you were on the bus. If you were in the backseat of the station wagon, you were in the backseat of the station wagon. When you went to the bathroom, that's all you were doing. Maybe you read the back of the shampoo bottle. But other than that, we were pretty mindful. And to be completely honest, it's a pretty good point. We have the ability for the first time ever to constantly escape reality and to isolate ourselves from what's around us, whether we're looking at smartphones, especially with earbuds in. So many people, especially young people, walk around with earbuds in, their phone in front of them all the time. You really can isolate in ways that we just didn't have the opportunity before.
Well, I don't know. I don't even think it's our fault. It's not the individual's fault that when you're sitting down doing nothing in a waiting room or in a place where there's not stimulus going on, that you look for it on a phone. I don't think it's our fault. What else are you supposed to do?
I think it's our fault as adults to young people. But we're the ones providing them with not only the technology and the apps, and we're making these apps, us being the tech bros, right, to be addictive. But then
That's whose fault it is.
Yeah, but then we're also, if we're adults and we're allowing our kids to have unfettered time on smartphones, I get that the tech bros are making it way harder on parents. But man, like even sitting in a car, riding in a car is a different experience. We all remember playing the boring like sign games or license plate games, right? When you're driving or on road trips, because you were forced to be present, interact with each other. Now you just watch a screen, turn on your headphones. You never know what mom and dad's music are. You never know what the conversation is.
Well, I think the most I ever did is as I got older, I'd have the old Walkman or the CD player, and you listen to a little bit of music in the back that's different than what your parents are doing. But for the most part, when you're really young, you are just listening to what they are listening to. And I do think there's a lot of value in that. Listening to what your parents are, watching what your parents are, instead of everybody having their own individual tailored for them
life
stimulus.
Experience. Yeah. And stimulus. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily good for a society that we are like that. I think sometimes we don't even have shared truth right now.
No.
So if we can't have shared truth and shared reality, then it's going to be a whole lot more difficult to be in a society.
Because you're right. We don't have shared truth because we don't have shared experiences. We're not sharing the same experiences because we can put in earbuds, we can turn on whatever screen's in front of us and tailor entertainment, news, music to what we want.
But also, I am not a parent, but I can absolutely understand why a parent would just say, here, iPad, watch this. I don't want to deal with you right now. I get it.
Listen, if I had to grow up watching MASH and All in the Family, so do you. It's all that was on.
That's Amy Marks Scores. I'm Chris Ranji. We've got our semi-weekly visit.
Come on.
With Bernie Miklas. He's on with us twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Bernie is next after the news on KMOX.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. Call 800-290-7100. That's 800-290-7100. 800-290-7100.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends at Universal Windows Direct. So fall is here. It's the perfect time to replace those old drafty windows before winter sets in. For every 2 windows you buy, get 2 for free. Buy 2, get 2. Buy 4, get 4. Buy 20, get 20. There's no limit. Plus 0% financing for 60 months. That's 314-334-2522 to schedule your free in-home estimate today. Again, for every 2 windows you buy, you get 2 free and 60 months. That's 5 years, same as cash, 0% financing. Go to UWD.com.
Broadway's smash hit, the Neil Diamond musical. A Beautiful Noise is coming to St. Louis. The true story of a kid from Brooklyn destined for something more, featuring all the songs you love, including America, Forever in Blue Jeans, and Sweet Caroline. Like Jersey Boys and Beautiful, the next musical mega hit is here. The Neil Diamond musical, A Beautiful Noise, coming to the fabulous Fox Theater, October 29th through November 10th. Buy tickets now at fabulousfox.com.
It's warm now, but winter will be here before you know it. That's why Banner Construction is having their pre-winter window event. Choose from Banner's various energy-efficient brands and window price points featuring beautiful Pella windows. Banner is a certified Pella contractor and preferred James Hardie specialist. If you've been considering new windows or a fresh new exterior for your home, see Banner's work at bannerconstruction.com or call 314-569-1050 and have a banner day.
This is a test of the emergency alert system. This is only a test. This has been a test of the emergency alert system. This was only a test. Broadcasting from the Underline Tree Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
At 11:30, we've got sunshine. It is 64 degrees downtown at the Arch. Experts say Hurricane Milton is expected to make a direct hit on Florida and is a major Category 4 storm. National Hurricane Center Director Mike Brennan.
You still have today to get out of those storm surge evacuation zones. Remember, you only have to travel tens of miles, not hundreds of miles, to get to a safe location.
Watch out for a crash on 364 going east at Maryland Heights Expressway. Left 2 lanes in the left shoulder are closed. Also a disabled vehicle, 70 going east at Zumble. That's got the right shoulder closed. Weather is sponsored by Sandberg Phoenix Law Firm. This afternoon, nice with plenty of sunshine. High 76. For tonight, low 42 in the coolest suburbs to 52 downtown. Tomorrow's high 82. Right now, 64. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
At Sandberg Phoenix, we're more than just a law firm. Our attorneys are committed to you, your business, and your community. We are ready to serve you in the areas of business litigation, intellectual property, health law, and products liability. SandbergPhoenix.com. The choice of lawyers is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits. A $2,000 value, free.
Endurance has paid hundreds of millions in claims. Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-296-7260. That's 800-296-7260. 800-296-7260.
Bernie Nicholas gets the final word during Sports on a Sunday morning. This Sunday at 11:45 on KMOX.
The 1-2. Line into right. It's going to drop for a base hit. Gurriel is being waved home. No play on him, and Tommy Pham comes through. The Royals take the lead.
Today's Bernie Nicholas Report is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. It is the Chris and Amy Show, and every Tuesday and Thursday here on KMOX, right after the 11:30 news, we visit with this man on the Quiver River Electric guest line. Bernie Nicholas joins us today. How's it going, Bernie?
It's going well. Looking forward to diving into some more postseason baseball. Certainly looking forward to the start of a new St. Louis Blues hockey season. I can't say I'm looking forward to Mizzou playing at UMass this weekend, but that's okay. Only because it's UMass, not because I don't want to watch Mizzou. How you guys doing?
Well, we're doing okay, and we're definitely going to talk about the Blues here in a moment. And you mentioned playoff baseball. You just heard Tommy Pham and Bob Costas on the call. The Royals evened up that series against the Yankees. How you feeling about that division series there?
It's interesting because in the first two games at Yankee Stadium, I mean, the Royals pitching, which is the strength of the team, it has been all year. It's the number one reason, along with Bobby Witt, of course, that they're in the postseason. But the Royals did something, and I know it's only two games, but they did something that many teams hardly did over 162 games. I mean, they shut down both Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. I mean, that is really, really difficult to do. So they're going to have to keep those guys down. If they can keep those guys down, and the pressure is clearly on the Yankees because a 1-1 series, that team with the massive payroll compared to the Royals, who are young and they have a much more modest payroll. If they can keep Soto and Aaron Judge down as this series shifts to KC, I think the Royals have an excellent chance of coming through.
Yeah, it's wild talking about Kansas City because it almost feels like there were a couple of teams in this postseason, Kansas City being one of them, Detroit being another, kind of have no business being there, Bernie, and here they are.
And that's the thing. I think it does. I don't mean to always try to tie everything back to the Cardinals, but I do think that it offers some perspective. For example, the Kansas City Royals, I think it's wonderful that they're in the postseason. Don't get me wrong. But the other thing about it is that they won 86 games. The Cardinals won 83. And the Royals went 12-1 against the White Sox this year. So they had some help because of the where they play, but they took care of business with run prevention. I mean, and it's really, really important. They show that when you have a strong pitching staff top to bottom and you play great defense and you have an offense that isn't solely reliant on power, that you can steal bases and you can play so-called small ball. And the Royals are an excellent contact hitting team. I mean, they just put the ball in play. They keep the defense working. So I like watching them. And I think they're kind of a lesson for the Cardinals about, changing some things around, but also look at the Guardians, a team, again, with a much lower payroll. But the Guardians, they do a lot of what Tampa Bay did, same type of philosophy. And so by extension, Chaim Bloom is an example of, if you look at Cleveland and like how they do it with a lower payroll, and you connect it to Chaim Bloom, then it tells you that the Cardinals actually have a pretty solid plan here coming up in the future.
Yeah, it's a very important point that you did make. And even though we don't want to, as Cardinals fans, rely on something like this, getting a lot of help from the outside, if the Tigers and the Royals are not in a division with the White Sox, they're not in the playoffs. And so you would say, well, if the Cardinals were in that division, they'd be in the playoffs, and that is probably very true. But you don't want to rely on that.
No, you can't. I mean, and this is a nitpicky thing because in any series, anything can happen. Heck, the Cardinals swept the Baltimore Orioles, for example. But the Cardinals did lose to the White Sox, but I think that was a fluke thing. They lost 2 out of 3 early in the season. But yeah, where you play does matter. And even though Milwaukee's a really good club, the Cardinals just didn't do enough there. And the Cardinals' lack of offense really brought them down at the end. But I think the Cardinals, I'm taking a step back from things a little bit, and I'll explain. I'll try to be quick. I'm not saying an 83-win season is great, because it's not. I mean, you want to make the playoffs. You also want to have a team that's capable of making a deep run in the playoffs. But the Cardinals, in my opinion, are entering a soft rebuild, not a tear down, a soft rebuild. It might take 2 years. It might take 3 years. And if you think about it from a much wider perspective, it's probably overdue. I mean, we've had the end of an era. Pujols, Molina retired, Wainwright retired, some other Matt Holliday before that moved on, and the Cardinals are kind of in the process of regenerating, and they're always trying to just plug in holes rather than to get their farm system and that player pipeline of prospects going again. But the Cardinals, if you go back to like John Mozeliak became the general manager and then president of baseball operations in 2008, and if you look at all 30 teams, during that point. The only team that did not have a losing season is the Yankees. The Dodgers have had one losing season, and the Cardinals have had one losing season. Every other franchise, that would be 27 franchises, have had at least 5 losing seasons during that time, and a lot of them have had 9, 10, 11 or more. My point being, the Cardinals have put off this idea that we have to rebuild a little bit. But if you look around baseball, you can say that about 27 other teams have gone through this. They have had a lot of losing seasons. They've had to regroup. So the Cardinals are no different in that you go through a cycle, and it's sometimes you have to regroup, you have to rebuild, or put any title that you want to slap on it.
When we talk about the Royals this year, then, right? I mean, they made it to the playoffs. They're doing pretty well. They're putting up a fight. It's easy to forget how bad they were last year with 106 losses. They were worse than the White Sox last year. The White Sox had more wins last year than the Royals did. Obviously, the White Sox went down, the Royals went up. What turned it around for the Royals then?
Well, first of all, they have a whole new front office, and not new to this year, but new to even the 106 loss season. And they hired a manager out of the Tampa Bay system who was their bench coach, Matt Quatraro. And he's a big analytics guy. And one thing the Royals did was they completely rebooted their analytics department. They brought in a whole new set of people, and a lot of them are working in analytics. They have one of the biggest analytics department in the majors. And they also have developed a hitting philosophy that works really well for them, which is contact, put the ball in play and run. And they also have a superstar in Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, that's one of the things about when you rebuild in a really major way, sometimes you'll get the number 1 overall pick. And they were fortunate to have Bobby Witt as the number 1 overall pick that year. But they just play really smart baseball, and they make a lot of use out of analytics. And there's kind of an overriding philosophy, everything they do. And so when they finally get they got their pipeline flowing again, they've built up their talent base. The minor leagues are a big help again for the Royals. And then they went out and targeted specific free agent signings like Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo and a couple of others. And they had the second or third best starting pitching ERA in the majors this year. So it was just a really smart plan that probably paid off sooner than expected. And yeah, the fact that they had the White Sox to beat up on probably helped that along. But this is not kind of like some kind of accidental thing, kind of a fluke thing. This is the result of a plan. And that plan started with putting new leadership in the front office and making sure you're taking advantage of every way you can get a competitive edge through analytics or through a certain philosophy.
Yeah, Kansas City and Detroit, by the way, combined 22-4 against the White Sox this year. So that helps. It helps a lot.
I'm sure Cleveland beat up on them too. Although I think Cleveland may have lost the series. Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of funny how that works. But I'm rooting for Kansas City because I like to see the Yankees go down. I mean, they've spent billions of dollars. They haven't made the World Series since 2009.
So do you think?
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and Bernie, and I mean, in my opinion, just because they have spent that amount of money and it hasn't resulted in a World Series title, I don't think that means you don't do that. If you can, you should do that. If you can spend money, you absolutely should spend money because it limits your margin of error.
No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, and that's the whole point. If you are, if you're a baseball owner and you are blessed with incredible wealth and your revenues because of your TV contracts and other marketing deals, whatever, are just massive. There's only a few teams that really qualify as massive revenue teams, but I think it's incumbent upon those organizations to spend as much as they can to win. It doesn't mean it's going to work, and sometimes the Yankees, like everyone else, do a bad job of spending their money. But it's just, it is amazing to me that they haven't made the World Series since 2009, which also shows you that the postseason tends to be random. And I've been preaching that for years. It to be random. It's a short season. It has nothing to do with the regular season for the most part.
All right, last season for the Blues, a 43-33-6 record. They finished 5th in the Central Division. So they get started tonight. Well, actually, this afternoon. It's an afternoon game.
Listen, I'm really looking forward to the season because I really like what Doug Armstrong did over the offseason. I mean, depending on what the actual lineup choices are today, I mean, they'll have 6 new players in the lineup who weren't here last year. I mean, Doug Armstrong added speed, he added youth, he added depth, and they're much more well-rounded. They have more options for talent, and they have more talent on the way with some of their young kids that aren't here yet. And he upgraded the roster without spending a ton of money, but he upgraded the roster by being bold and doing something no other team executive in the NHL wants to do, which is to try to heist another team by using offer sheets. And that's how he got center Dylan Holloway and really good-looking young defenseman Philip Broberg, who could be leading figures in helping turn the Blues around this season. So he took advantage of every way there was to upgrade the roster, and I appreciate that about Doug Armstrong. I think the goaltending last year was fantastic. I won't go into gobbledygook metric stats, but the Blues had a top 5 goaltending tandem in the entire league. They saved this team a lot of goals and won a lot of games, talking about Binnington and Hofer. I like the fact that the Blues, after Drew Bannister took over on December the 12th, their points percentage, .591, was 13th best from that point on to the end of the season. So they did respond well to the coaching change, and they did do much better. So I think they've got a good group here. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, only because the Western Conference is just filled with monsters. It's such a great conference. But I think the Blues will be in the hunt, and it's a compelling team. And whether they make the playoffs or not at the end of the year, they still have a really good future in front of them.
Bernie, any idea what you expect the identity of this team to be? I mean, we know what it was in 2019. We know what it was a couple of years ago. But what about this current roster?
Bannister prefers more tempo. He wants to put speed on the ice, and he wants the Blues to be able to skate with anybody. And I think the Blues have been overdue in transitioning to that, because I think this league has gotten younger and faster. I mean, there's a speed component now that I don't know how far back in time we have to go to see the league playing at such a high rate of speed. But the Blues were a little outdated in that way, and I think that's been a point of emphasis for Army. So I look forward to seeing their speed flash and whether this will make that will be in fact their identity. But it's not a heavy identity like Craig Berube had, and they won a Stanley Cup with it. But things change, and you have to adapt in terms of style.
Bernie, Mizzou, shifting over to college football. We knew it was going to be a tough game at Texas A&M. Didn't think it was going to be a 31-point blowout, though.
I'm still kind of ticked off at this whole thing because they weren't ready to play, and I don't know how that happens when you have 2 weeks to prepare for what is a really big game. Because Texas A&M has an excellent coach in Mike Elko. Texas A&M's a ranked team. Texas A&M's one of these teams that could make a lot of trouble in the SEC. And how you can go down to Kyle Field totally unprepared to play. You obviously did nothing meaningful during your bye week. You didn't take advantage of the extra time. And I thought everything was just a mess, not just in the game, but before the game. Eli Drinkwitz clearly wasn't expecting them to start Connor Wigman at quarterback. He sort of poo-pooed the idea that they would go with the backup quarterback that they won 3 in a row with. And he poo-pooed the idea that Wigman would return because they were winning with the backup. And he just sort of blew off the question. Then you had Brady Cook telling people, in effect, oh, it's not that loud. It's louder in practice and this and that. And he just like this idea that that's an intimidating place to play. He publicly dismissed that. You had this whole blanket episode, which was a prank that went bad. And Texas A&M people say, no, we had nothing to do with this. Go ask Eli Drinkwitz, which means maybe Drinkwitz wanted to inspire his wide receiver Theo Weiss by putting a blanket in his hotel room, supposedly from a Texas A&M cornerback who would be covering Weiss. That thing blew up. And why Weiss was out there in the pregame like waving this blanket around it. I mean, it's just silly. You also had Drinkwitz being paranoid. He banned he banned one of the recruiting and home recruiting assistants from watching practice because her brother plays for Texas A&M. I mean, they worried about everything except football. They worried about everything except getting ready for that game. And I think every Mizzou fan should be troubled by that.
As you mentioned, they've got UMass coming up here. The Fighting Illini take on Purdue. Missouri is 21st in the country now. Illinois is at 23. So you've still got 2 top 25 teams that we think about here in the bi-state area. Bernie, as we say goodbye, thanks again, and tell us about our friends at Saliga.
Always great being with you guys. Saliga Heating and Cooling has been doing this since 1927. It's an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer. One family, the Saligas, it's the 4th generation of ownership and operation, Dan Saliga right now. One family has continually taken care of generations of St. Louis families since 1927. I just love that. I really do. And they do it all, residential work, commercial work, all makes and models, repairs, updates. They install new American standard equipment if you need it. They'll also look for solutions that perhaps won't cost you as much money. We're a Saliga family, 15 years and counting, and I can vouch for their integrity and their professionalism, the fact that we trust them 100%. They always give us great advice, and they always handle the problems ASAP. They're everything you would want from a heating and cooling business, Saliga Heating and Cooling, and that name really matters. It's pretty obvious to me as a Saliga client that the fact that family name is on the trucks and on the building, it means a lot to Dan Saliga, who runs the family business now. They also have a maintenance program to help make sure you're ready for all seasons, and we do that here. We make sure we're ready for the cold weather, make sure we're ready for the hot weather. It's called the Priority Club Maintenance Plan, so you can join that. Any information you need for Saliga, 314-481-7333, 481-7333, or go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thank you.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At Fira Capital Management, formerly Heisey Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call Fira Capital Management today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 314-328-4400. That's 314-328-4400. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. Fira Capital Management, 314-328-4400. Investment advisory services made available through Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities made available through AE Financial Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Firm may not give tax advice.
Touchdown! Kansas City! Can't make it to Kansas City for the big game? No problem. Experience every Kansas City Chiefs game, like here in the front row at Valley Sports Live in Ballpark Village. Join fellow Chief fans on game day and feel the roar of the crowd right here in St. Louis for the Chiefs. Chiefs Watch Parties, presented by Jim Beam. Don't miss a moment of the action. Head to KMOX.com/events to reserve your table now and cheer the Chiefs to victory.
Hey guys, Glover here here with my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. Selling your home, every situation is unique. Find the best options that are right for you from the real estate team who offer more options. My friends Mark and Neil Gelman, check out the only agents that I trust at thegelmanteam.com.
This is a commercial for California Psychics, America's most trusted psychic network. So, if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. No, really, this is it. You won't see your soulmate's face in the clouds or your career path mapped out in your cappuccino foam. This really is it. We could add some dramatic sound effects if you'd like. So what you waiting for? Experience the joy of certainty at CaliforniaPsychics.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy. Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
You entrusted a nursing home with the care of a loved one, but they violated that trust. If your family member has been the victim of nursing home neglect, call Onder Law at 844-BEDSORE.
I'm Dave Glover, and I see clearly now thanks to the doctors, Dr. Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, Andy Royer, and Samuel Barry. You can too. Just go to youridoc.com.
I'm Tom Ackerman. This is KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
Got tickets to give away to see the Blues and Jets on October 22nd. They're going to start their season today, 3:30 against Seattle, which is weird.
Is it a holiday in Washington State?
Is this the first?
Because it's 1:30 there.
I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know why they're doing it that way.
Like, is it Memorial Day?
I don't know. But yeah, they'll play at 3:30 in Seattle. There are 3 games today. One of them is the Blackhawks against the Utah Hockey Club.
The Utah Hockey Club.
I think they should just keep that. Don't come up with a name. Just
you
be
don't
the
think
Utah
they should
Hockey
be the
Club.
Latter-day Skates?
That's fine.
That's fine. It's genius.
It's fine. But there's
the Latter-day Skates in Utah?
Yes, and I wish the Washington football team would have just kept Washington football team instead of going to Commanders.
Well, I think the Vegas Golden Knights missed an opportunity to have little tassels on their jerseys.
I know you do. What do you think about giving away these tickets now?
Let's do it.
October 22nd, it'll be the Blues and Jets. We got a pair of tickets to give away right now. Caller number 7 to the contest line, 314-955-1120, 314-955-1120. Best of luck to you. We'll give away tickets for the rest of the week as well.
And be careful.
So you lost?
Oh, did I
The
ever?
football pick'em?
I was horrible.
How bad were you?
Pretty bad. I think I got 2 right, maybe.
So it was you, Big Blonde Dan, who
Yep.
ended up winning this week, our listener. So he gets the return on Friday.
Kyle McClellan, who came in second,
Okay.
and Brad Young, who filled in for you, who came in third. Big Blonde Dan was the only guy to pick the Bears.
You know, that's why he won.
I think so.
That's why my guy
The
won.
Bears, famous for being winners.
Hey, man, new era. It's a new era, baby.
Is it though?
Yes, it absolutely is. Everything's great. Everything's great.
Did you watch football this weekend?
Of course I did.
Did you watch the Bears?
Of course I did.
Was there a good Chicago crowd in Detroit?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't. So the Lions were off.
Yep.
The Tigers didn't play, which was stupid.
The Lions, the Tigers, and the Bears, those are the 3 teams you're talking about?
And only the Bears. Only the Bears played.
Oh, my.
But how about starting a playoff series? You play on Saturday,
Yeah.
and then the very next day is an off day. That's so dumb. Yeah. I don't know what MLB does. I know they don't want to go up against NFL, but you can't avoid it.
Yeah.
You're playing in October.
Have
What are you
a
going to
little
do?
faith in yourselves.
Just-
You're worthy of being watched.
Major League Baseball, man. They love to step in it. All right. Amy Marks Coors, Chris Ranji. Our third hour of the show is coming up on KMOX.
Buying a home is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. Before you tour a home, the real estate professional you're working with may ask you to sign a buyer's agreement, which describes the services you'll receive, each party's role and responsibilities, and how your agent will be compensated, all of which you'll want to discuss with them up front. So work with an agent who's a Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors with a duty to honestly represent you and put your interests above their own, because that's who we are.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius or two half geniuses and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Matt, your Leaf Filter Trusted Pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/rain to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/rain. That's leaffilter.com/rain.
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The home of the Cardinals, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Do you have $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000 in debt? Then listen to this. You may not be required to pay it all back.
I was drowning in debt.
I had over $36,000 in debt. If I would have just made the minimum payments, it would have taken me 59 years to pay off.
Whether it's credit card, medical, or personal loan debt, National Debt Relief can help significantly reduce what you owe. In fact, debt relief payments can be 50% less than your monthly credit card payments. That's right, half as much as you're paying now.
National Debt Relief reduced my debt by over $27,000.
With National Debt Relief, you have a powerful team that knows how to talk to your creditors.
National Debt Relief, they got me out of debt.
More than 550,000 Americans have used National Debt Relief to reduce their debt. Call 800-649-6464 to see if you qualify to settle your debt for a fraction of what you owe. 800-649-6464. That's 800-649-6464.
It is 12 noon in mid-America. This newscast is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. We've got sunshine. It is 66 degrees downtown at the Arch. President Biden today urged all those who have been ordered to leave ahead of Hurricane Milton to evacuate now. Correspondent Cammie McCormick has more on the warnings in Florida.
Governor Ron DeSantis says fuel is being rushed to gas stations. Debris from the last storm cleared up as quickly as possible.
We must be prepared for a major impact to the west coast of Florida.
And the preparations are well underway.
People have been very serious about how big this storm is going to be.
Sheriff Chad Chronister in Hillsborough County with a message to residents there.
Yes, you may be inconvenienced and you may be uncomfortable, but if you listen to us, you and your loved ones will be alive.
Even parts of the east coast of Florida are under hurricane warnings. A Maplewood firefighter is in a cardiac intensive care unit after an overnight apartment fire. The department says the firefighter is in stable condition after helping Shrewsbury Fire put out a heavy blaze at the 3-story Rivercrest Apartments. An adult and young child were rescued from the second story after they had been trapped by heavy smoke. The crowds have been much more manageable this week at St. Louis County's Department of Revenue. Director Tony Smead tells KMOX last week people wanted to be the first to sign up for the senior property tax freeze. He does have some advice.
If they don't have their deed, they can get those online for the most part. And if their homes were purchased before 1974, they have to come to Clayton to get those deeds because they are not digitized.
States are suing TikTok.
More than a dozen states and the District of Columbia filed lawsuits against TikTok Tuesday, alleging the app harms youth mental health by designing its platform to be addictive to kids. The lawsuit stemmed from a national investigation into TikTok by a bipartisan coalition of attorneys general from many states, including New York. Meanwhile, a federal law based on security concerns is still hanging over TikTok, which could ban it in the U.S. if its China-based parent company ByteDance doesn't sell the platform by mid-January. The company is appealing. Julie Walker, New York.
The Royals started out slowly, but ended up by evening up their AL Division Series against the Yankees.
The Royals even their American League Division Series with the Yankees at a game apiece after a 4-2 victory in the Bronx. KC trailed 1-0 going to the fourth on Giancarlo Stanton's RBI single. But Salvador Perez led off with a home run to tie the score at 1 and open the floodgates against New York starter Carlos Rodon. Yuli Gurriel followed with a single. 1 out later, Tommy Pham singled to put the Royals up 2-1. Then with 2 out, Garrett Hampson singled to make a 3-1 KC, eventually coming around to score for a 4-1 lead and change the direction of the series.
You told us we were going to get one here and go 1-1 into Kauffman. I think everybody was pretty happy with that, so we're confident. Got Lugo on the mound, I believe, in Game 3.
The Yanks did rally in the ninth on Jazz Chisholm's homer and had the tying run at the plate, but Gleyber Torres grounded out. Game 3 Wednesday night in Kansas City. Tom Merriam, New York.
The KMOX business desk, from phones to cars.
The world's biggest assembler of Apple iPhones hopes to become a player in the electric vehicle market, but says it will take years to build up its automotive business. Hunt High Precision Industry is proceeding cautiously with EVs. Executives say the business environment is uncertain and a fast move could be dangerous. Kimberly Adams, Bloomberg Radio.
The Dow from Stifel's up 57 points to 42,011.
A nice afternoon with sunshine at a high of 76. Tonight will be clear with a low of 42 in the coolest suburbs to 52 downtown at the Arch. Sunny and delightful tomorrow with a warmer afternoon, the high 82. This is AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Sponsored by Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Sell your home with trust, confidence, and written guarantees. Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty is St. Louis's real estate expert. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. We've got sunshine. It is 66 across the board in Florissant, St. Peter's, and downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Rich Orris hosts the KMOX Home Improvement Show, presented by Mosby Building Arts. Saturday at 11 on the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
I absolutely feel we are a contender. Everybody in our organization, I assure you, everybody in that room, coaching staff, all of our hockey operations staff. I mean, we're building this next stage of what this team can become.
That's Blues president Chris Zimmerman as the St. Louis Blues get their season started today. 3:30 is puck drop in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Maybe there's a holiday there.
Maybe there is a Seattle-Washington holiday we don't know anything about. Maybe we'll find out.
Yeah.
Maybe our next guest does on the Quiver River Electric guest line as we get ready for Blues hockey. We talk to Blues Rinkside reporter for Bally Sports Midwest, Andy Strickland, is with us on KMOX. What's going on, Andy?
How are you guys today? Are you feeling good today? Everybody excited? I mean, listen, the 3:30 drop of the puck, that is a little bit different, but, the NHL.
Yeah.
They don't always do things the same. They want to stagger games. So we've got 3 games on the sheet tonight, starting with St. Louis and Seattle. And you'll end up having a game later tonight with Utah hosting their first game in their franchise history against the Chicago Blackhawks.
Is that really what this is about? They're just trying to, is it like an all-day thing that they want? Because if that's the case, why not have a game at noon too?
Chris, they don't want anybody doing anything else today but sitting down and watching 3 consecutive games. It's like football and Thanksgiving today,
Sure.
Sure.
Hey, Andy, I don't know if you have any sway, but what about the Utah team that is basically without a name for all practical purposes? What about the Latter-day Skates?
Wow, that did not make my final rundown, Amy. But listen, I'm very open to any type of suggestion. I do like the Yeti. I mean, I just feel like it's the obvious. Like it should be the Yeti.
Yeti's pretty good.
that it's too obvious. But listen, you can do a lot of cool things with the Yeti. You can make a cool mascot. Just the origin, the history of what the Yeti actually is, you know, like they're out there. You can't see them. You don't know where they are, but they've been around for thousands of years.
Well, then you could have, you'd have a game against the Yeti and the Kraken, and people, we've never had a game like that. So many mythical creatures.
They're not myths.
Rivalry right there.
I think they should just stick with Hockey Club forever. It should just be Utah Hockey Club forever. So we're getting ready for this Blues season, Andy. They had a winning record last year, but they missed out. What are the Blues looking at in the 24-25 campaign?
Well, I keep using this comparison, and it may not make sense to a number of people. I'm sure a lot of people in your audience remember Bob Ross, the painter, who was on CBS for years. He used to paint those beautiful mountains in the background and those trees, and they would speak to him. And he had the big palette of paint and all different colors on that palette. That's kind of like what the Blues are right now. They got a bunch of new faces, new personalities, new names. So I see a palette of paint, lots of different colors. And I'm interested and excited to see, just like everybody else, how it all comes together. I'm pretty optimistic. I like the players that they've added to the group. I do think they're going to be better than they were a year ago. And, you just look at how the team turned things around after Drew Bannister took over last year. People ask, hey, what was the deciding factor in terms of the Blues electing to make him the full-time head coach? Well, first off, it was his record. I think he was 31-19-5 after taking over. You look at some of the important statistical categories that are directly related to coaching. A lot of those improved, including the power play, which was 13th in the NHL from the day that he took over. When he took over the team, I think they were second to last in the league. So that was an obvious improvement. But listen, there's been some buzz, some energy, that's been created with a couple of these offer sheets that were signed late in the offseason, bringing over Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. Holloway is going to be playing on the top line here today to start the season with Robert Thomas and Jake Neighbors. So I'm looking to see how the chemistry comes together, kind of going back to what I was saying about all these different faces. Listen, you want to give time. That was what the preseason was for. Obviously, they kind of, generate some chemistry with one another. But listen, they've got some pieces, and they got good goaltending. I think their defense is better than it was a year ago as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it all comes together.
Yeah, I was wondering how you were going to tie in Bob Ross. I was like, surely he's not going to say that the roster was a bunch of happy little accidents or something like that. So now I get it. Okay, but you're not wrong about the new faces. What is it? 1/3 of the lineup will be making their debut today, among skaters at least, on the Blues roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's something like 8 players, something like that. So, and not just offensively, but also on the defensive end too. With Ryan Suter coming over, and I mentioned Broberg. Now, you got 2 Joseph brothers, right? So if you're keeping the score at home, you got Matthew Joseph, who will be in the lineup here tonight, or today, I should say, and then Pierre Oliver Joseph, who's not going to be in the lineup, who plays defense for the Blues. He's been in the NHL now the last couple of years, a former first-round pick of Arizona. So, you've got some new faces there. But, yeah, 1/3 of your defense is new when you look at Ryan Suter and then obviously Philip Broberg. Broberg's going to get an opportunity to play with Justin Falk. I think Falk is trying to have a big year, too, for several seasons. He was one of the most productive, power play defensemen in terms of goal scoring in the league. I think 3 straight years he had like 15, 16, and 15 goals in 3 consecutive seasons, something like that, during his time with the Carolina Hurricanes. And he hasn't exactly had the same role here in St. Louis since he's come over because of guys like Alex Pietrangelo being here his first year, and then Torrey Krug obviously signing a big contract. And he's been the guy to quarterback the power play. So I'm excited to see how that adjustment, how that plays out. Falk can shoot the puck, and he is a shooter, something the Blues really haven't had a whole lot of, at least up top on the power play from, their defensemen. So, listen, a lot of new faces, but a lot of experience too. There is one guy I will tell you that I'm excited to see how, things play out with him, and that is, Alexander Texier, who came over from Columbus. And he's kind of a hidden gem, in the hockey circles. When you talk to scouts and people from around the league who have scouted him since he came over, he was born in France. He was raised in France. So he's a little bit of an outlier from that standpoint. But he's got a lot of potential and a lot of ability offensively, who can really create off the, with his playmaking abilities. He's going to play with Pavel Buchnevich and Jordan Kyrou here today. He had a pretty good preseason. Columbus was here. He played with Columbus the last couple of years. They didn't really want to let him go, but, they obviously had to make some decisions. And then they had some tragedy that took place there in Columbus. They probably wouldn't have let him go if they knew that was going to play out the way that did. Obviously, terrible circumstances with Johnny Gaudreau. So they they just claimed the player off waivers from Vegas yesterday. They would love to have Alexander Texier back with them on their roster, but he's a guy that can make plays, and there's a reason why he's being put in position to produce and given a top 6 role to start the season. I don't think people realize how good of a player he can be. And we'll see if he can reach his potential now coming to St. Louis.
And, Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, Andy, so many of these players that were youngsters when the Blues won the Stanley Cup in 2019 are now the veteran leaders on the team. How much weight and significance do you place on the forward side on Robert Thomas having a successful year, and then on defense on Colton Parayko being strong? How much of the team's success hinges on those two specifically?
Well, listen, there's no doubt that, Robert Thomas is your best offensive player and Colton Parayko is your best defenseman, right? Just in terms of purely defending, maybe isn't the same, bring the same type of offensive upside as maybe some others, do, on the back end. But in terms of defending, he's your number one defenseman. He's going to play the most minutes. He's going to be out there in the matchup game, playing against the other team's best players and have a ton of responsibility on his plate. Thomas is a guy where if the power play can improve, listen, I firmly believe he's a 90-point plus player and could even flirt with 100 points. You look at the top players in the league, guys like McDavid in Edmonton and Nathan McKinnon in Colorado and Kucherov in Tampa Bay and Austin Matthews, all these guys. Look at the power play numbers they put up year in and year out. There's a reason why they get well over 100 points, 130, 140 points like we saw last season. It's because of the power play points that they get. So if the power play can improve, if they can even be in the top 12, then I think it's realistic for a guy like Robert Thomas to certainly be 90 points or more and have a breakout season from that standpoint, even though he had a strong season a year ago. And I think Jordan Kyrou is the same thing. If this power play can have true success, then he's a guy that could certainly flirt with 40 goals. He did it 2 years ago, scoring 37. Didn't even have a good year in terms of his all-around game. I thought he made some strides in that area last year. Offense maybe in terms of production went down a little bit. He had 31 goals a season ago, but he's an explosive offensive player who could certainly career it and get to 40 goals. And I think Jordan Kyrou is a guy that's going to break out this year. I just really do. I feel like now entering the second year of his contract extension, dealing with some of the internal stuff that he has been dealing with, having a new coach here. He thrived under Drew Bannister after he took over last year. I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Kyrou were to break out and have a strong season and really reach his goal scoring potential that I think the Blues truly believe that he has.
Yeah, Amy brought up the two names I figured were the candidates for the question I was going to ask, which is who is the face of the franchise now? Is it Thomas? Is it Parayko? Or is it Binnington even?
Yeah, I think Binnington would certainly be in that category too. You can't forget about Braden Shen. He's the captain of the team and, was a big part of their Stanley Cup winning team. There's only a certain, number of players that are still left from the team that won the Stanley Cup just a few years ago in 2019. I think Thomas is probably the guy. I mean, he's your best offensive player. I think Buchnevich, can certainly take that claim on a number of nights too with his two-way play and, now being moved to being a center full time. I don't think that's going to be his long-term potential or long-term position, I should say. I think the hope for the Blues is that Dalibor Dvorsky, who they drafted 10th overall a few years back now, can develop this season down in the American Hockey League and eventually come up and be the, number 2 center for this team. And you can slide Buchnevich back over to the wing and you can have a 1-2 combo up the middle with Robert Thomas and Dalibor Dvorsky for the next, several seasons, So the face of the team, Binnington, I think, would certainly be in that category. But I think right now you got to say Robert Thomas is probably your best player.
Andy Strickland, looking forward to some afternoon hockey on a Tuesday. I know you are as well. So we appreciate you jumping on with us and previewing the Blues season.
Anytime, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
That is Blues Rinkside reporter for Bally Sports Midwest, Andy Strickland, with us. And yes, that game gets going at 3:30 against the Kraken in Seattle. It's hockey season already on a day in which it is 75 degrees. That's fine, right? It's going to be like 90 on Saturday. Come on, man. Almost 90.
It takes a little while. But the thing is, it doesn't matter because the Blues aren't home.
Great point.
When they come home, that's when the weather needs to drop.
Congratulations to David in St. Louis, who won the tickets to see the Blues and Jets on October 22nd. Fear not. We'll have tickets to give away for the rest of the week on KMOX.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Celebrate the spooky season with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com and take advantage of these huge savings. Spell it forward, spell it backwards, always spells the same, Zero Res.
You're in hot water, mister.
What'd I do?
I told you months ago our utility bills were getting higher because of that old outdated tank water heater.
Maybe it's time we finally switch to a Navien tankless.
Learn about Navient's high-efficiency tankless water heaters, endless hot water, all while helping you save on your energy costs.
Hey, look at this. Our utility bill is lower since we got the Navien tankless water heater.
Who's in hot water now?
We are, all the time.
Learn more at tanklessmadesimple.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We interrupt with a special report from the Missouri Lottery. With a new millionaire every 8.1 days last year, there's no shortage of Missouri Lottery winners. However, there is currently a shortage of confetti. This may impact all confetti-related activities, hullabaloos, whoop-de-doos, jamborees, shebangs, and any and all festive goings-ons. Rest assured, Missouri Lottery winners will receive a single confetto with every big win for the time being. We apologize for the shortage, but not the winning. Thus concludes this report from the Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome. Play responsibly.
This is Christina Straight with Straight Realty reminding you, why pay more than 4? In 2003, we had a dream to start a real estate company that would revolutionize the real estate market. Now, 20 years later, after navigating through the many markets' ups and downs, we know exactly how to help you in this challenging time. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Don't give away your hard-earned equity. Give us a call today, 314-441-4444, 314-441-all-4s. And remember, why pay more than 4?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED in my 12 years of practice. But now you can get world-class care for ED 100% online by going to hims.com. So what are you waiting for?
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices,
Go to hims.com/joy.
This is Megan Lynch. If your family has been touched by Alzheimer's, join me at the St. Louis Walk to End Alzheimer's on Saturday, October 26th at Chesterfield Park. Experience a community of support. Register today at alz.org/STL Walk.
At KMOX, our focus is you, your go-to station for local news that matters to St. Louis and the region. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to mention I'm 69. I have a cousin who was a female professional wrestler back in the day in the 50s and 60s. Her name was Penny Banner, and she was from South City. Sam Muchnick helped get her career started.
Nice. What would your wrestling name be?
Well, it can't be Penny Banner because it's taken.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, man. What would it be? By the way, 314-436-7900. Text in. What would Chris Ranji's wrestling name be?
What would your wrestling name be?
I know what yours is. Rangeful Death.
Rangeful Death? You are such an idiot.
It looked better in my head.
It looks probably does.
It looks better than it sounds.
If you look at it spelled out, Rangeful Death is not terrible.
But it sounds pretty stupid.
It does sound stupid. I don't know what it would be. I don't know. I never really liked wrestling that much. I liked it for a little bit, but I got out of it quickly. And I was always amazed at when I was in college, there were a lot of adult men, college kids that loved wrestling again. And I thought, weren't we over this, guys? I thought we got over this when we were 12 or 13.
No, you never get over it.
I guess not. It became really, really popular again when The Rock was around and, the Undertaker.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, hard left turn. I need to give everyone an update from yesterday. Charlie Brennan and I had the conversation about direct flights from St. Louis to Europe, and could St. Louis be getting another flight from Lambert to a European city, say Dublin? That's the one we were talking about. Are you going to be able to fly direct from St. Louis to Dublin? And the answer is no, you're not. Nope. Aer Lingus has taken their business to Nashville, so you can fly from Nashville to Dublin, but we did not get that flight. That would have been a cool flight.
So because you talked about it during the show yesterday, and it looks like that news broke about 3:00. So a little after you were done with the show yesterday. That stinks.
I think Charlie had some inside information because he looked skeptical. Although maybe he just knew we probably wouldn't get it. Whenever you throw Nashville in the conversation, you're not going to win. Like, I don't mean to be rude.
It does feel that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. If it's not, if anybody is going, well, we don't know if it's going to be St. Louis or Nashville,
We only have 9 international direct flights. 2 of them are to Canada. Then you've got Punta Cana, Cancun, Montego Bay, San Jose, Cabo.
I almost feel like those don't count.
San Juan, which really,
it's international.
Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah. It's so vacation-y. You know what I mean? Like they're beach vacations. If you take out the beach vacation international flights.
But yeah, Frankfurt is the only European flight.
Yeah.
It's the only direct European flight. We were talking about Detroit earlier. And again, it's a bigger city. The media market is 14th and we're 24th. And there were more people originally, about 1.8 million. Now it's down to under 700,000. So still bigger than us, but they've got 20. They have 20 direct flights.
Wow.
Yeah, to all kinds of places, not just Europe, but we're talking Toronto, Amsterdam, Rome.
Well, and what makes it such a sore spot is anyone my age or older remembers TWA St. Louis being the hub for TWA, and I literally did not. Now I didn't fly a lot, but I didn't have a layover until my mid-20s. My sister and I flew direct from St. Louis to Heathrow. That was just a thing. You flew direct anytime you flew from St. Louis. And so I think remembering that, like Matt Pajeski, he's 14, so he doesn't know any different. But I remember those days. I know a lot of our listeners do. And I think that's kind of a bummer.
The first flight I ever took was a TWA flight, but it was, Florida. It wasn't like anything international, but I just have a vague memory of there being more of those types of flights available to us here in St. Louis. So yeah, if you were listening yesterday, Aer Lingus is not going to fly direct from St. Louis to Dublin. Here's what I do know, though.
Yeah.
I wonder if I would have a lawsuit on my hands, because if I started an airline, it would be called Aer Dingus. Would they sue me, or would they send me a cease and desist because it's too similar?
I think they would send you a cease and desist.
Fly Aer Dingus. We don't really go anywhere. We just get up and fly in a circle and then land again.
Because you don't have any landing
There's nowhere to
rights.
go.
Yeah.
This is Aer Dingus, Fly 700, ready to... You don't have permission to land.
Okay, we'll just go back.
All right, we're going to go back then. All right. Have a good day. It's Amy Marks Scores, Chris Ranji, KMOX.
Hey folks, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house on the walls, patios, walkways, porch, or chimneys? If so, this might be a great time to call Morelli Tuck Pointing. What's tuck pointing? It's the removal of old mortar and the replacement of new mortar on a wall or chimney. Sometimes that mortar can become loose, missing, or deeply eroded. We've used the Morelli team to tuck point the Brennan home several times, and in fact, this winter, we noticed the bricks that line the ground near our porch in the backyard had gotten out of line and looked pretty cattywampus. One call, Morelli Tuck Pointing, the job was done. Morelli's the company that's won the Angie's List Super Service Award every year, back to back to back, since 2005. Check out their reviews on the Google, Angie's List, and Better Business Bureau websites. The Masonry Specialists, 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
Need money for a new home? The Carpenters Union is offering up to $10,000 to all McKelvey home buyers. Use these funds to cover your closing costs or secure a fixed 30-year mortgage rate. Visit McKelvey Homes and secure your dream home with unmatched quality and value.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-329-2121, 800-329-2121, 800-329-2121.
At 12:30, we've got sun. It's 67 degrees downtown at the Arch. Preparations are underway up and down the west coast of Florida as Hurricane Milton is expected to make landfall late Wednesday in the Tampa Bay area. Mayor Jane Castor says if you're in an evacuation area, it is time to go.
You don't have to go out of state. You just have to get out of the way of that water. Run from the water, hide from the wind.
Road work on 94 going east at Route D. That's on the right shoulder. Road work on 70 west at First Capitol Drive. That's also on the left shoulder. Emergency vehicles on 70 going east at 370. That's got the left lane closed. Weather is sponsored by Chesterfield Fence and Deck, your premier provider of fences, decks, patios, sunrooms, and more. Call them for a free estimate today. Now offering 20% off your next outdoor project. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, chesterfieldfence.com. High today is 76. For tonight, 42 in the suburbs to 52 downtown. For tomorrow, high temperature of 82. Right now we stand at 67. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Broadcasting from the Underline Three Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Brian.
Yes, Sarah?
What is the point of making junk disappear?
We make space for possibility.
Oh, that's huge.
Why do people want junk to disappear?
To make space for possibility.
And who gives them this new space?
We do.
And how do we do it?
We make junk disappear.
And what does a person need to do to make all this happen?
All you have to do is point.
We make space for possibility.
We make space for possibility.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Or visit 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
There are nearly 70 million people that are currently using Medicare and taking Social Security. When you retire, you could be one of them. The question is, have you figured out how best to use these programs? That's where Steve All and the All Financial Group can help. Join Steve and his team on October 23rd at the All Financial Group office, where Steve will discuss Social Security. And special guest and Medicare consultant Scott Stream will present on Medicare. This event is complimentary, but you must qualify to attend. Call 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or go to yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Scott Stream and Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC are not affiliated.
Okay, boys, here we go.
When they take the field,
Take the field. Let's have some fun.
we take you to the game.
They don't like us. We don't like them.
Thursday night, it's the 49ers and Seahawks. And you can hear the game here. Siteman Cancer Center game time, 6:30 on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
The rate at which Amy can come up with nicknames is kind of unbelievable. Like, is she slightly savant autistic-ish? I don't know. Can I say that on the radio?
Well, it just did. I don't think you can, though.
You can say that.
No.
Jeez Louise.
No, leave us a voice message on the Odyssey app.
No, I'm dumber now than I've ever been. I'm not even joking. I think it's smartphones, but my brain used to be quicker. Yeah.
Did it?
When I was seriously, when I was a kid, like three to four, somehow I taught myself how to read. But that is why my reading vocabulary is larger than my speaking vocabulary, because since I already knew how to read as I was quote unquote teaching myself, by the time I actually was doing phonics books, I was like, well, I already know this word. I don't need to sound it out. So there are certain phonetic rules that I'm pretty sure I don't know.
You said during the break that you've gotten dumber since you were.
I said
since then,
and Matt
Pajeski, our producer, goes, "You got dumber since you were 3."
I think so.
Which, I mean, it's not off the table.
It's not off the table. Honestly, Rangeful Death may or may not be a great nickname.
It again, if you write it out and you look at it, it looks better than it sounds.
Right. In my head, I could envision it.
I'll tell you, one of the best uses of my name.
Yep, I know what you're going to say.
We've talked about it before, but for people who have not heard it, when we were coming up with show ideas for the name of the show when Kevin was on it, or it might have been like a segment idea, Kevin just threw out there one day, Ranj Against the Machine, which I think is fantastic.
It's pretty good.
It's really great job, Kevin. How did Kevin come up with that?
Every now and then, that guy.
That's right.
With his bag of beef jerky and his bottle of Mountain Dew, you really no limits.
They're little mini sausages. It's not beef jerky.
That's right.
Man, they look great, though.
Do they?
I think so.
I don't know that mini sausages ever look great.
Hey,
real quick, we've got a few minutes here, so I'm going to shamelessly solicit texts and voice messages. I want to know, are you a Kamala Harris / Josh Hawley voter? And what I mean by that is we know there were people in the last presidential election who voted for Joe Biden and then voted Republican down ballot. We know that. There were a lot of Republican victories, right, in states where Joe Biden won.
Right.
So my question is, are you that person? You can stay anonymous. We will not out you at all. You don't have to say your name or anything. But I've seen a lot of signs just, out in the city, in the Clayton area, Chesterfield, Baldwin, those areas. And you see yard signs that say like Kamala Harris. And then also there's a Lucas Kuntz sign, right? A lot of times next to the Kamala Harris sign. That makes sense. I've seen Trump signs. I actually haven't seen any Josh Hawley signs now that I think about it. But at any rate, I was wondering, would someone put in their yard, would they put Kamala Harris and then like a Josh Hawley sign? Are you one of those voters? I know they exist.
It's an interesting.
We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because your gut feeling would be absolutely not. If you're voting for Trump, you're voting for Hawley, or if you're voting for Hawley, same thing, right? But the premise is it was like this in 2020, where down ballot Republicans won in a lot of areas, but Biden won because people were just people who identify as Republicans or primarily vote for Republicans were done with the whole Donald Trump thing. They didn't want to vote for him again, so they voted for somebody else. So I think it's a legit question. I still think the answer is probably no. There are very few Harris-Hawley voters.
And I might be that person that knows the few because I know, here's the thing. Historically, not so much anymore, but historically the homeschool community, and I'm going back to the late 80s, early 90s, very faith-based, right, relatively conservative group of people. In 2020, there were people from that old school homeschool core that were voting for Joe Biden and then voting Republican down ballot. I'm not saying a lot. I'm just saying I knew people who did that. I assume there might even be more. Maybe there were 8 people who did it in 2020, and in 2024, there'll be 11 people. I don't know how small the number is, but I would love to hear from someone who's doing that.
If you're a Harris-Hawley voter, send us a voice message on the Odyssey app, or you can give us a call, or you can send us a text message and tell us why you've decided to do that. 314-436-7900. Again, the voice message feature on the Odyssey app. It's just the mic button. You tap it and you record your message and send it.
And I'm not saying this in the way like because it's outrageous. I don't think it's outrageous at all. I'm actually shocked there aren't more because I know there are so many Republicans. I mean, I'm that old school Republican conservative who I will not vote for Trump. I will vote for other Republicans, right? For governor, love Mike Kehoe, and I may disagree with Josh Hawley, but probably vote for Josh Hawley, right? I mean, I know there are people out there who have conservative values who also see Trump as a threat to our Constitution, to our confidence in our elections and the integrity of our government. So yeah, I think they've got to be out there.
They probably are. My guess is the ones who messed around with that in 2020 are probably thinking, and again, we're talking about lifelong Republicans or people who primarily vote that way. My guess is that a lot of those folks are like, I did it once, I'm not doing that again. I played around with it once. I voted for the other party for president one time, not doing that again. I'm just going to go back to what I typically do. So
interesting. I think it'd almost be the opposite. Like now the stakes are even higher.
I wonder, because there are a lot of people out there who believe things are far worse now than they were in October of 2020, totally forgetting we were in the middle of a pandemic, which you could argue was being badly mishandled by the administration at the time. And it was affecting the entire world, obviously. And there have been studies that said that there were several 100,000, if not into the million of unnecessary deaths that happened because of our poor COVID response. So I think despite all of that, people have kind of forgotten what it was like and think, yes, everything right now is awful. So I'm going back to the guy who was there before.
Well, and I think it's important to note a lot of people praised Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' response to COVID, to the restrictions. You have to remember, Ron DeSantis, in many cases, he and the state of Florida were pushing back against the Trump administration and their, recommended restrictions or guidelines, right? So it wasn't like Trump was running the country like Florida during the initial stages of the COVID pandemic. But at any rate, I feel like there have to be those voters out there. Ron, a lot had been said about Kamala Harris not doing sit-down interviews for a long time, which she didn't, and I understand the strategy behind that, right? The more airtime that Trump can get, the better it is for Kamala Harris. And you could argue the reverse as well. But Kamala Harris has done a series of interviews recently. Last night, she was on 60 Minutes, And you could argue that that was really the only hard-hitting one as of late. She joined Alex Cooper on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which is like the female forward, sex-centric podcast that was a break off of Barstool, but it's the number 2 podcast in the country, second only to Joe Rogan. She also was on The View. I think that might have aired today or yesterday. And as we speak, I believe she's being interviewed by Howard Stern.
Yep.
That was going to be 1 p.m. I think it was 1 p.m. Eastern. So you can imagine there probably aren't going to be, well, we already know the Call Her Daddy podcast was, we were talking to Matt about it. It was more of like a Yes Queen podcast, right? Like girl empowerment. There wasn't hard-hitting questions. No one expected Alex Cooper to provide hard-hitting questions. That's not what she does. The View really, it was going to be friendly towards Kamala Harris. The 60-minute interview, there was some pushback against with Kamala Harris maybe kind of dodging a question, multiple questions, which I will say as politicians do. It's difficult to get a straight answer from a politician. So I would say that was really the only interview that had some pushback to it.
Right. I would also like to point out here, though, that it seems like we're grading the two of them on different scales here, because it is not like Trump is going on these hard-hitting interviews. Who did he go? He's on with Ben Shapiro today, and he talked to Hugh Hewitt recently. You think Hugh Hewitt's going to be mean to him?
I think
He's
what
not going
it
to ask
is,
pointed questions.
right? And I think because it's more of Trump is such an anomaly. He's a reality show host who doesn't stand on any principles, right? I mean, he's about himself. And I would argue, a con man, January 6th, the fraud, all of that. And so, yes, I do hold Kamala Harris. It's not that I'm holding her to a higher standard, meaning like she's going to have to do a lot to win my vote. It's that I expect more from her.
Of course, but we should still be grading them both on the exact same scale. So if and I'm not saying you, but people who are criticizing her for, well, you're going on this Call Her Daddy podcast, so that's not a real interview. Well, the point at this stage is to get your message out there, and if you are trying to reach younger people, you're going to go to places where you think younger people are,
right?
Especially women, because that podcast was listened to 73% of the listeners of that particular episode, and I don't know what it's like normally.
It's overwhelmingly young women.
So
That's
it was
the podcast demo.
It was 73% that.
Yeah.
That's what the breakdown was for it. And a lot of younger people were listening to it. That's who she's trying to reach right now. But I think we need to stop grading on different scales. Like, oh yeah, that's Trump. That's just what he does. No, if you're going to criticize her for not doing a hard-hitting interview and not doing multiple, you better do the same thing with him, because he's not either. So I think if we're going to do this and be honest about it, then as our buddy Kevin Wheeler says, be consistent. Let's be consistent in the way we treat both of them.
And I would say the Call Her Daddy podcast, like I said, I find the name offensive. If that's female empowerment for some people, so be it. I'm not a fan of the podcaster Alex Cooper, but it was a strategic move. It is like going on the Joe Rogan podcast. It's the second most popular podcast in the country. You think, well, I've never heard of Alex Cooper. I think she's just now turning 30. I'm not sure, but she's late 20s, maybe 30. She broke off from Barstool, signed $50 million to take her podcast to go to Spotify. And then this year, $150 million.
I think it was 125, but still it's a lot.
$125 million to go to Sirius. I mean, she is a power podcaster. You could also, The View, we make fun of The View, right? It's insane. Well, guess what? It's the number one watched daytime show in the country, which is insane to me. But I mean, these are strategic moves, because ultimately it's about getting voters. And you could say, well, Kamala Harris already has the young female vote locked up. Maybe, but it's going to be close. And there are, because of the whole Barstool connection to Call Her Daddy, not all of it's not overwhelmingly Democratic listeners. Probably majority, but not overwhelmingly. And the same with The View. You're getting suburban women. Maybe it's about voter turnout. But
yes,
she's also
that's what it's about.
She's trying to reach people. And I think with Howard
young
Stern
people,
too.
Because Democrats know that they need young people.
Mm-hmm.
They need young people to turn out, because when they do, they typically vote for them. So that's That's what she's trying to do. Will it work? I don't know. But at this point in the game, when you're less than a month away from the election, you got to get your word out there somehow. So I don't have a problem with her doing that. And I don't have a problem with Trump going on Hugh Hewitt. I just want us to be consistent with how we assess these interview requests and how we look at the two candidates.
Quick note. When Vice President Kamala Harris was on The View, she did announce a new policy proposal, which would be Medicare would cover the cost of home care workers as part of a broader economic policy.
That's Amy Marks-Kors. I'm Chris Ranji. And if you want to be out and about and looking at the changing leaves and the beautiful scenery that we get this time of year, you need to get your eyes checked at Ophthalmology Associates. Make your annual eye exam right now. And if you got insurance, they will probably cover it. You just need to look into it. But Ophthalmology Associates, they're awesome. They are the doctors of all kinds in the St. Louis area. Go to Ophthalmology Associates for their eye exams. And when you go, you will see one of the terrific doctors like Ranjan Malhotra or Greg Birdie, Robert Brusati, Andy Royer, or Samuel Berry. And they are all experts in various conditions of the eye, whether it's something minor or something that is more serious or something that could indicate a greater health problem going on in your body. Sometimes it starts with the eyes. They'll figure it out at Ophthalmology Associates. The number 314-966-5000. That's 314-966-5000 or youridoc.com.
KMOX proudly supports the Musial Awards, returning to Stiefel Theater Saturday, November 23rd. You can be in the audience for this nationally televised event hosted right here in St. Louis. Named for Stan the Man, the show celebrates the year's greatest moments of sportsmanship and those who embody class and character. Experience the extraordinary moments and people that make the Musial Awards an event like no other. More information can be found at KMOX.com/events.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-511-3535. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider, 800-511-3535. That's 800-511-3535. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with, call Big Lou at 800-511-3535.
When you bought your home, you took on more than just a house payment. You spend weekends on upkeep, repairs drain your bank account, and with your equity locked up, you can't do anything. You love your home and want to stay, but it's a constant struggle. What if you could sell your home, reclaim your weekends, and not have to move? You can with Truehold's Sell and Stay program. Truehold will buy your home now while the market is high. You can bank all that equity in cash and stay in your home with a lease. Plus, you won't have to worry about property taxes, insurance, or upkeep anymore. Truehold unlocks your wealth without uprooting your life. Join thousands that have secured their retirement, paid off bills, and financed their dreams. Get an offer now while the market is hot. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com to cash out your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com or call 855-300-9993. Truehold.com. Truehold
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
Join the movement to end breast cancer on October 19th by supporting the American Cancer Society making strides against breast cancer. You're helping save lives through groundbreaking research discovery and patient support. Get info or donate at makingstrideswalk.org/St. Louis Mo.
I'm Sean Malone. This is KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
Ron, are you conscious of which movies, or I should say, are you discreet with what movies you watch on in-flight entertainment, like on a long flight?
Well, the longest flight I've ever been on is like a 4 or 5 hour flight.
Okay.
I don't remember if I watched a movie though. I may not. Are you talking about like you just don't want people to see what you're watching?
Like the screen is on the seat, right? So that people next to you and the people across the aisle can see.
Oh, yeah. This is completely different.
Uh-oh.
How did you know about that, Matt? Oh, I tweeted it? Okay.
Oh, no.
So on the way out to Detroit,
Yes.
I'm listening to an audiobook, and it just happens to be an audiobook about 9/11. So I was on the flight
Oh my God.
listening to this 9/11 audiobook. And it's only an hour flight, but it occurred to me
Why did you
halfway
pick
through, like,
that?
oh, this is weird. I don't know. I've just been listening to it when I'm in the car. And so I just turned it on when I was on the flight, and I'm probably 30 minutes in, and I'm sitting next to my buddy, and I go, "Oh my God, this is weird." And I show him my
Yeah.
phone. This is what I'm listening to right now. It just did not occur to me.
So it's interesting that you say that. This is not my original story, but when I flew to Zurich, I flew St. Louis to Philly, Philly to Zurich, and I was on flight 93 out of Philly.
I thought that the numbers retired, right? Don't
Thought
they
so
do that?
too? But no, and I kept checking.
Oh, is it because it's international?
Maybe.
Okay, because I thought that they retired.
I know, but it
Flight
said
11
Amy. It said Amy Mark scores, and I looked at my ticket, and I looked multiple times because it said, American Airlines flight 93 out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which it just was like weird because I didn't think they had that number. Is it because it's international?
Maybe.
I actually, to be honest, I am not superstitious or anything like that,
So-
but I did like, not think about it because it felt weird.
Well, this is a story from 2011.
Yeah.
And it's about how flight numbers 93 and 175 were accidentally used for 2 Continental airline flights, and United had to apologize, but they wouldn't. It was an error, they say.
So was it
that
United
those flight numbers were
flight?
assigned?
Maybe that's why, because I was American Airlines.
No, I think. Let's see. I'm just looking at the story as you mentioned it,
Mhm.
and this is again from the Christian Science Monitor from May 20th of 2011. United Airlines temporarily revived the flight numbers of 2 hijacked planes used in the September 11 attacks, but said the move was inadvertent and they would not be used.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know how that happens, but
Yeah,
maybe it has something to do with it being an international flight.
I know. And that's what I'm looking because I'm trying to find my boarding pass again because I looked multiple times and I didn't want to say anything because there's no point, superstition doesn't matter. But here we go. Yeah, it was flight 93. It left Zurich to Philadelphia.
Oh, well, if it...
But it was American Airlines. It's AA Flight
Interesting.
93 to Philadelphia.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah. Anyway,
Maybe it's because it's international, but I think that would weird me out a little if I noticed it.
I had to make myself not think about it because that's Pennsylvania. That's Flight 93.
I know at
yeah.
Boston Logan, where one of those flights left from,
Mhm.
there is a I whatever you call, I forgot the thing that takes you out to the plane.
Yeah.
You know, the ramp that you go out. There's a flagpole with an American flag on it. So I remember the one time I flew to Boston and I was flying back, sitting there in the terminal waiting to leave and just looking at that flagpole, realizing all those people left from there.
Yeah.
That weirded me out. I didn't go out the same gate, but it was,
Yeah.
I just,
It's in your head.
it
Yeah.
is. It was a little uneasy. Anyway, Amy Mark's course. Let's do it again tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good.
I'm Chris Ranji. Anything you missed is on the Odyssey app, so download it and let's have some fun tomorrow at 10 o'clock, shall we? The Dave Glover Show is next.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little